right, what is going on, everybody? We are back at it again. Draft day number two. We got three more drafts coming your way here at the Nemesis Gaming League, where we got Challenger League, Rival League, and Titan League all coming at you very shortly here. And man, it is going to be it's going to be another crazy day. There have been some crazy things happening in day one. We're all excited to be back for day number two. Got some nice young fellas joining me in the booth today. First up, let's go around. We've seen some of these faces before. Some of them new, some of them a little bit older. I guess you probably know all these people, but for the new people, let's go around the room. Let's go to the mysterious man himself, who doesn't actually exist according to the scene here. We got Irosa in the booth. Let's go down, Irosa.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Good, good, good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm excited. I'm really excited for the rival draft, especially the fourth round of the rival draft, as the entire round, by the looks of it, is going to Sands and the Mafiosos. So I'm really excited to see what kind of team he can end up building here. The challenger draft that we have coming up, everyone seems like they're at a decent position. Everyone seems like they've got at least the picks that they were looking for, hopefully. Some may or may not have. And same thing goes with Titan. Fortunately, a couple of teams are a little low on picks, but they do have the players who re-signed last season to make up for it. So I feel like this should be a really good draft.
Yeah, it definitely should be very exciting. I know we had a lot of crazy things happen yesterday. There's been a lot of crazy things going on behind the scenes. We'll talk a little about a couple of these trades that have been going on, especially in the Challenger League. Me and Flip were talking a little bit earlier before the stream about there's a pretty crazy trade that happened. There's a lot of movement. I mean, a lot of these picks in the first rounds were traded out. We'll talk about that a little bit. And speaking of Flip, welcome back to the booth. How you doing?
I'm doing good, doing good. Glad to be back. I mean, yesterday were like the lower leagues, but this is my territory now. Challenger League, Rival League. This is where I do all my scouting, to be honest. And so I know a lot more about these players, and honestly, a lot of these guys, I'm excited to see them go, and I'm excited to see some of the teams that are going to get built because the foundation that some of these teams already have, and I'm excited for my team too. My team got to get to drafting, so there's a lot of things that I'm excited for, and honestly, I just can't wait to get started.
Yeah, definitely. Me as well here. I'm ready to get things going. We got one more person introduce the man behind the scenes. Maybe are you making your cast anyway? You've casted a little bit before, Kareem, but helping us out behind the scenes here tonight and providing a little commentary. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Doing good. That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. Kareem will be helping us out behind the scenes and providing some commentary and doing a little drafting. How's it feel to be coming back as GM, Cream? You got some things planned up, some things prepared for tonight?
Yeah, lots of rebuilding because only three in the entire org have resigned, so I had to work with four empty teams, and
Mm.
three of them I will be drafting tonight. I already did one of them, which was provisional last night,
Well, we'll have
and
to. Oh, sorry to cut you off there.
novice, we got two people. I couldn't get my super sub, but whatever. And prospect, we got our roster filled out, and we actually been playing a lot with each other, and yeah, that's how it is.
Nice. Nice, nice. Well, we will see how it goes here as we're about to get things underway. The Challenger League draft is getting underway. So I guess we'll start things off here as I go ping everyone to let them get in here. But let's get this thing underway. The draft is beginning here with a Challenger League draft. You guys can follow along on the stream here or in the Discord. Each team will have 3 minutes to make their selections here for who they're gonna end up picking up here. And we've got a lot to talk about here. Starting with Venom, the number one overall pick in the Challenger League draft. Number one pick's always an interesting one, but we're gonna have to see what they're going for, and they waste no time here. They waste no time, Flip, making their selection. and they're going to go with Gano, who formerly was on Blaze last season, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these higher MMR players in Challenger were rival last season, and so some of these players they can definitely perform. And now that they're at like the top of Challenger League, you expect a lot of things out of them. But this Venom's roster, that's already their third player with Gano, Grav, and Oinko, and they still have about 1529 cap space remaining, so they still have a good amount of spot for a sub. But that roster already looking pretty filled out. But Ghana with the first overall pick, not that surprising to be honest. He's super active and also pretty well known throughout the entire league, and I'm honestly proud of him going first overall. I think he deserves it.
There we go. And something I forgot to do before we started. I saw this popping off in chat at the beginning, but shout out to all the resubs here. We got Dan coming back for 13 months. Blazing Biscuit coming back for 37 months. Thank you, Biscuit. He also gifted a few subs as well. Gifted forward, pass up C money. So respect to that. Also Jarhead coming back for 9 months there. Silver J coming back for 6 months, half a year there, almost there. And then Velatech coming back for 4 months as well. So shout out to all you guys for supporting us, and Dissolved coming in. They have made some moves for this pick. I'm sorry to throw it back to Flip again, but Flip, we were talking about this is the pick that we were talking about. Dissolved, they sold their soul to get this pick. What can you tell the viewers about what they did to get this pick here?
It all started with the Wraiths in the draft lottery. They had a less than a 1% chance, or it was a 1% chance, pretty much. They had to get a 75 ball to get this pick, and by the gods, it happened. And I'm pretty sure that was the first time ever in Nemesis that the 75 ball has been picked. And so Wraiths moved from 8 all the way to 2, and then they traded 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks to move up. Dissolve did, and they make their pick with Rose, and that player has got to be worth it because that's 4 pretty high draft picks that they traded for that.
Yeah, I do know quite a bit about this Rose player. Me and my AGM were doing a lot of scouting. Apparently, this Rose player has somewhere around 130 hours in the past 2 weeks. So this person is a mega grinder. So definitely someone that you're gonna want to get there. And I mean, a solid pick there. For sure. I know a lot of people were looking out for Rose there. They're going to pick them, and then Yukio goes off the board next there. Hi, Rose. So what do you think so far? What are you making of these first couple picks off the board?
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Yukio was a prospect last season.
I believe so.
Yeah,
at least in recent memory.
Yeah, and every team that Yukio has been on, he has controlled the pace in every single game. Whether it was a win or lose, he always popped off, and he did his best to control the pace. I think that's a really good pick for Assassins. I don't know how underlooked he was for the Challenger League, but I definitely think that Yukio will be a big-time competitor here.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I do recognize it. He might have moved, he was in Prospect in recent memory, but he may have been Challenger last season. If I recall correctly. May have been on Snowstorm. I know he was on Flurry at one point. It may have been on Snowstorm, who is now on the clock, but he's heading over to the Assassins there, who had a playoff run last season for fall into, I believe, the eventual champs, if my memory serves correctly there. So they've gone ahead and selected Yukio, and then Motion coming through and selecting Stiff, who I don't recognize as much, and Snowstorm is coming and selecting Brudder, which is an interesting name there. Making some interesting names. There's always a few that are just kind of puzzled by, but Snowstorm goes ahead and selects Brudder there. So we got two more picks off the board in Stiff and Brudder.
We just love the interesting names. The crazier the names are, the harder it is for us casters to pronounce it, and the funnier it is whenever you're watching the stream. I know I've mispronounced plenty of names on the stream. I know some people have mispronounced my name on stream, and it is honestly hilarious, and it brings a lot of comedy to the stream.
It definitely does. As a caster, I know the struggle of finding some names, and any caster who's done this before will definitely tell you that the names they can be rough. They can be rough sometimes, but um, you know what? There are worse names. There are worse names that we could get there, but Brother going there to Snowstorm. So we'll see what Snowstorm is cooking up there, and we're also seeing what the Bishops are cooking up. As Cream, you've made your first selection of the draft, going with thy Chad. What do you like in there? And I know you're back on the clock again, so that's all right if you need to take your time to process what's going on next.
Yeah, I tried one of my first options for my first round for my sixth pick. Now back to back, I am a bit take a little bit of time to think on what I want for this next pick.
All right, no worries, no worries. We'll let you do some thinking there as Cream has got some time to think about who he's going to select there. But looking at the rosters a little bit, empty roster for Cream here. Going ahead and selecting thy Chad. Got some room to work with there. And going back a little bit, looking at some of these other rosters, Brother is going to go and team up with I'm Jex there. So Jex back on Snowstorm Magic, moving up to a rival league last season. Then Motion, they've got Stiff, X Rage 32 XX, and then it's JP. So JP was fighting to get to the bottom there. So Motion's still 1590 to work with. So interesting. They're pretty much filling up their roster, having a third. I think that's one of the only rosters besides Venom, with we talked about with Grav and Oinko. Only a couple rosters with three people, so there will definitely be a lot of draft picks to be made in this draft. A lot of things to be determined out here. Flip still.
Yeah, and honestly, a couple of these teams that don't have any picks or don't have any players, and like Raptors, they don't have a pick till 21, and so they're going to be kind of leaving it up to chance to see who they're able to take. Papayas, though, they're another team that doesn't have any players, but they do have the 11th overall pick, and I mean, we saw what Papayas could do with some late round picks or some late season pickups.
Yeah.
Also, last season with Jeffrey, that was a crazy pickup. But
He was good.
overall, yeah, no, Jeffrey's crazy. But I don't know. I don't know if they're able to get another player like Jeffrey. He came in and took over. So they might need some kind of miracle like that. But a couple of these rosters that you said starting to fill out. A roster that I'm kind of looking at is dissolved with Beamar and Rose. I mean, Rose, you said huge grinder, and I know Beamar is getting really solid. And I've seen him play in a couple other leagues, but he's always been not really that well known, to be honest. But from my experience, he's obviously he stepped it up. But Kareem seems to have made his second selection. Kareem, why don't you give us some insight on who you picked?
Hi, Chad. I have never seen him before, but looking at what he has been doing in the Clips channel, and I think he's like really active as well. So I decided to start off with him. And then Ethan, I know him very well. I played 6 events with him, and I think he's really good for what he is on the sheets. 1582.
Yeah, definitely. I've actually Ethan X Games mode has been around for a while. He was actually the Ascension sub at one point last season, and I'd say definitely deserving of a starter spot there. So I actually like that selection. Ethan's been around for a couple seasons, so that's a solid selection there. Solid selection for the Bishops to start off their season there. So we'll have to see what they do, and then also Orbit coming through with their pick. They're going to go ahead and select Egg Dip there, and the Assassins right after them. They're going to go ahead and they're selecting Denia, the coaching legend there, former rival league player, falling down here into the Challenger League draft. But they're going to go ahead and select Denia, which is another interesting pick. So a couple more names that we know. I think was Egg Dip on. Oh, Egg Dip was on Motion, I believe, before, if I recall correctly. Oh yeah, it says in his name.
Last season he played under Motion alongside Dubs, and seasons before, I'm not sure how many, but I know at least season 7 he was a non-playing coach, and whenever I originally joined, he was actually my coach under acceleration. So I've seen what he can do. He's a really good pickup for Orbit. I don't want to say it's a steal because he's still a high MMR, and it only left them with 1538, which they can still get a good couple of players, but I'm sure they look to have a more rounded roster. But Egg Dip is definitely a really good pick. He also is really good with his mechanics to control a game, just like Yukio.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna be interesting. I've played against him last season. Definitely a decent player over there. So we'll see what Orbit has cooking there with Egg Dip, DJD, and Fear the Career. So they got 1538 to work with for their final pick. So some room there. And then the Assassins, they got Denia, Yukio, and Righteous on their roster right now. So Assassins with their 2 first-round picks going Yukio and Denia, hoping to build that God Squad there. And then the Race, who made quite a few moves here on the board. They are going to go ahead and select Gabe DB with their pick. And then the Papayas coming back next. They are going to go ahead and select Swan with their pick. So picks are coming fast. They usually do in the first round. They come by pretty quick here, and these teams just know who they want. They know who they want, and they're not waiting around for anyone to snipe them there. So Swan going off the board, I believe. Were they on Hellcats last season? Yeah, they were champion from last season on Hellcats. Now going over to the Papayas. So a couple of solid pickups here.
Yeah. Swan, I believe he was the sub for Hellcats last season. Gabe, I've never heard of, but I heard he is a pretty high price, so I think you'll see a lot from him with Jarhead. Denia, the legend, was on Venom last season, but has left and now is on Assassins. And looking at, I think Sands just messaged me. I think I sniped his pick.
It happens sometimes.
It does. It does. I
Does
mean,
happen.
we're coming towards the end of the first round, and just looking at some of these teams already. Some of these teams are looking like completely filled out and looking really strong. We were just talking about the Assassins. Assassins looking pretty solid. Same with Motion with Stiff, Rage 32, and it's JP. But honestly, Orbit with Egg Dip and DJD, that duo, that's going to be a scary duo in the Challenger League. And honestly, I think those two, whoever they use as their third, it's not going to matter because those two, they're going to be really scary for anybody that they had to play against. And I think Orbit, I think they're looking like, in my opinion right now, I know it's not even the first round. The first round's not even over yet, but I think they're looking like a really strong team.
Definitely an interesting team. Me being a player in the Central Division, I'm keeping my eyes out on a couple of these teams. Raptors still empty. They don't even have a pick until 21 here in the second round. But Orbit there, kind of filling it out. It'll be interesting to see. Also, Race with Gabe and Jarhead. Jarhead had a good performance with the Race last season, number 1 overall seed in the Challenger League. So definitely someone to watch out for there. Jarhead and Sage have been doing a lot of work there, moving picks around. We talked about that number 2 pick that they were able to sell away with the lucky odds, hitting that 80 or the 75 ball in the draft lottery. That pick was actually from Ascension. We traded to them, so that could have been us, but a little salty. But hey, you got to do what you got to do there. Sometimes, and they made it work for like Flip mentioned, 2 firsts and 2 seconds, and they're still getting a top 10 pick here with Gabe. So Race in that Central Division might be cooking there. And still getting a couple more picks out on the board. We have Freak Mighty going to Flame. I heard some good things about Freak Mighty on the board there in some tryouts. Griffin's going with Zimity. I think it's probably how you pronounce it. Zimity there. Don't know too much about Zimity. And then Boom is going to the Samurai there. So a lot of picks going quick and going quick here. Like you said, these guys know who they want, and they're wasting no time. But I recognize Freak Mighty, but I don't recognize Zimity and Boom. I don't know if Flip or Irosa, if you guys have any insight on either of those 2 people.
I'm actually looking at the season 8 public player sheet, and Zimity was a free agent last season, but I'm along with Gabe, but I'm not sure if Zimity came in late last season. But looking at Griffins, they still have all the MMR to work with. I feel like they want Zimity to build. Well, I feel like they want to build the team around Zimity, so that's got to mean that he's a good player. I hope, at least for our sake. But yeah, not too much to say about Zimity or Boom. Boom looks like a new player this season.
Uh, Boom is solid though. I have seen him play a couple times, and he's good. I mean, obviously 1607 MMR, one of the higher MMRs in Challenger League, and so whenever you get a high player like that, you're gonna want them to maybe not completely carry, but definitely have the biggest role on the team, and it is definitely looking like that's what the Samurai are looking for, and I think Boom is going to be able to provide that. Now, next pick is Ascension, and Rocketman, have you made your selection?
I have made my selection. We've done a little bit of talking. Me and my boy Q, we're running it back for this season, and I'm excited for this pick here. He was a former rival of ours in that Central Division on the Raptors. We've gone ahead and selected Bowser with our pick. He's kind of he's a lower MMR player on the board here. I believe he was down around 1529. Yeah, 1529 on the board there. So went a little bit lower, but Q was talking to this guy. He's got some good availability, a great player. The man destroyed us a couple times last season. So, we're pulling the Kevin Durant here. Let's team up with him. He may beat us now, but we'll bring him to the team and we'll see if we can run some things over there in the Challenger League. I'm excited to run it back with Q and Bowser. Great teammate, great passing player, and I think we'll have a lot of potential there. So I'm liking him a lot there.
I think the only thing to say about him is peaches, 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 peaches.
Oh gosh. Oh no.
Oh, great.
No, Bowser's good. Bowser's good, but I mean, that was the second to last pick in the first round. The last pick is going to be Zamps, and from the Hellcats. And Hellcats, that's another 3-man roster that's already been completely filled out with a Hardy Point and Mitso. Zamps going to be that third man, is what it looks like. And honestly, Hellcats roster is pretty solid with that one. I know Mitso. Mitso's a really, really good player, and Zamps. I don't know much about Zamps, but if he's able to fill out this roster well enough, that's a scary team for anybody in their division.
Yeah, definitely so. And if we could for a second, Cream, could we stay on that first round just to kind of look at it one more time before we switch over? Just to talk about it, we got the picks going through here in the first round. A lot of good ones in the first round there. Quite maybe some surprises. Obviously, we had some grinders over there that kind of went crazy. Ira, is there any surprises here in the first round from you?
I don't really want to say real surprises. I'm kind of surprised that Yukio got taken so early, but then again, because of how well he did last season, it's not that much of a shock that he went early. There's still a lot of high MMR players that I personally don't know, but I feel like they should have gone earlier for their MMR. I'm excited to see what Raptors can do for this next round, because right now they have nobody on their roster.
Yeah.
So, yeah, other than that, no real surprises. Each team is looking pretty good.
Not too bad, not too bad. Well, we can move along now to the second round. We'll put the Drakes on the clock. But yeah, it will be interesting to see. There are a lot of names that I recognize, either from tryouts or former players on here that are sitting on the board waiting to be selected. And like you mentioned, the Raptors, they'll have a couple picks in this second round. The team that a lot of people were talking about last season, especially early on. I remember the Raptors, they were ones that contend for it all, but lost. I'm blanking on his name. Gosh, what's his name? I can't remember his name at the moment. It was really bad of me. But they lost a player who went non-playing in the middle of the season. It kind of it didn't tank them, but they were definitely the far out best team. But then ended up falling off a little bit. So we'll see what they can do with their empty roster. Especially like I said, I'm curious, being a Central Division foe there, what they're going to end up doing in the second round. And speaking of the second round, it is underway, and the Drakes are going to go ahead and select MP here. I believe formerly known as King MP, shortened to MP here. Um, he's been in Nemesis for a while. I believe he's EU actually, if I recall correctly. So that is an interesting selection there with Biscuit going down to Challenger this season. So Biscuit, Kiwi, and MP, and that is going to be an interesting sight to see. Biscuit is back in Challenger again.
Michigan Challenger is a crime. That man is about to steal a chip away, and like I mean his roster, he's always been able to build really good rosters. Last season on Hydra, it wasn't his season, but I mean it's now that he's in Challenger, I feel like he's maybe more at home, to be honest, because now Seabiscuit, he can be that guy, and
Mhm.
I think that's what he's gonna do, and I think you can't sleep on the Drakes. You can never sleep on Biscuit's teams, and with MP, that's already looking like a really well-rounded roster, and I mean they just need a fourth now, but Drake's looking really strong.
Yeah,
Oh my
definitely,
god.
definitely are here as looking solid, and we'll see. I'm very curious to see. Like I said, I'm curious to see how Biscuit fares in challenge of the season. Um, if he's gonna pop off like he's done in season past. I mean, everyone, oh maybe not everyone, but most people remember way back in season three, him and the Drakes, only ever undefeated team in Nemesis history to go all the way throughout the regular season and through the postseason. So he's looking to run it back, looking to see if he can do that part two. I don't think it'll be that easy this time around. I think the league has changed quite a bit, but we'll definitely have to see as Venom coming through. They are selecting Rico, and then Papayas are going through and selecting Milk on their team. A Nemesis legend. They've been around for at least 4 seasons. Season 4 All Star there, season 6 champ on the board. So a couple more picks as teams are starting to get in this second round, filling out their rosters a little bit.
Yeah, and I do believe Milk was on Venom for like 3 or 4 seasons. And another thing I'm seeing here is that uh Rico, I think he would be really good for a starter. It's a crime that he is in a sub position, but maybe that could change.
You never know when you get a roster like this. Venom, yeah, now filling out their roster with Gano, Grab, Oinko, and Rico. You never know with Oinko and Rico who is going to end up being the starter there. So maybe he is, going to be the starter. Maybe they'll do a little sub rotation, if you will. There, you never know. You never know how these rosters work, and that's the one thing too. A lot of times with a summer season like this, we obviously get a lot more players with school being out or what have you, school, college, whatever, being over. But also that does lead to a lot of potential vacations, a lot of moving, a lot of whatever. So that's why it's important to have these 4-man rosters. And if you have a roster like that with Venom, you could definitely work some sub rotations around. I'm sure. And as we get through that, the next pick is coming through for Snowstorm, who's looking, like we said, looking to build around Jex there with Brudder, Jex, and now they're going to select Bondo with their pick. So honestly, I've heard of Brudder, I think, but I haven't heard of Bondo. So Snowstorm, they must be cooking something. This guy's got a Scottie Pippen profile picture. So respect. So Scottie Pippen profile picture with the word Bondo over the jersey. So this guy's on to something here. Maybe a little Scotty and MJ action with Brudder and Bondo there. But we'll have to see, and obviously Jex, who was pretty solid last season, so we'll have to see what they can pull out. So Snowstorm looking to make some moves. The Dan plan is back in effect here.
Dan with the plan. But the plan that I'm looking to see come to fruition is the Raptors. They finally
Mm.
make their first pick, and it's going to be Jay. And Jay's going to be the first of many picks that they're gonna have to use tonight because, uh, like I said, they're the first team or they're the last team to get a player on their roster, and so I think Jay. I don't know much about him, but they uh they made that pick pretty quickly, so they must be pretty happy with who they got. And looking forward, there's still so many like notable names, like Fort, Drizzy, Stuffy. There's Azriel. I mean, there's so many like names that we've seen in Challenger and Prospect Leagues seasons prior that have done really well, and so there's plenty of potential left up on the board, and I think any of these teams can still make some great moves.
Yeah, and I gotta say, this J selection, great selection by the Raptors. Me and Q were heavily considering him, getting him on our roster. That guy is really good. I was very surprised he didn't go in the first round. I was really hoping he would fall to us, but it was a tough ask, being so far down there, with our next pick for our fourth. But definitely, I love that pick from Jay. And yeah, I did get confirmation. It was Boxiel. That's the name I was looking for. I can remember the Twitter. I could remember his Twitter and his post, but I could not remember the name. So Boxiel there, that was the guy that left mid-season last season. So the Raptors, they're starting all over again, starting with Jay. Love that pick, and then Ezreal coming through to the Samurai for their pick, and then Motion. They are coming through and selecting. I assume this is probably supposed to be Aqua. Maybe a little bit of a mistype there. Um, but they're selecting someone named Aqua. I don't know who this is. 312 Aqua 3129. So I don't know anything about them, but they got numbers in their names. So, well, on our name tier list, that's a little bit, it's a little bit rough. That's a little bit rough.
It's not that bad.
No. Why would you
No,
say that? Why would you say
yeah,
that? Flip 1010.
I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Adriel though for the Samurai. Adriel was actually on the Samurai last season. For a little bit, he actually subbed up for our rival team a couple times, and he's a good player. Um, with Boom as well. Those two, they're gonna be making a splash. That's another dynamic duo, to be honest. Like I was talking about Egg Dip and DJD, those two, they're gonna be making a pretty big splash. But Boom and Azriel, they're gonna be good. And honestly, if you're in the Samurai's division, you're gonna be want to look out for those two because they're both pretty mechanical. And whenever you got mechanics and hopefully they can get some teamwork, that's a recipe for success.
Definitely, definitely so there as yeah, Israel. I was about to say, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I swear this man was on Samurai last season, or maybe it was the Assassins. But I recognize Ezreal equating him to a yellow team, so either Samurai or Assassins there. But yeah, that's an interesting pick. I don't know anything about Aqua. Dissolve, they're coming through and selecting Zay, and then Hellcats, they are selecting J Dubs, who oh, I didn't even put them on the clock. They're just they're wasting no time. These guys don't even wait to get put on the clock, and they're trying to throw their selections in there. So throwing me off a little bit with that one. But they are selecting J Dubs with their pick. So yeah, these guys, Rosa, these guys just they know who they want. They're ready. They've got their draft plans available. Their draft plans are ready. And again, some more selections, some more rosters. Starting to get filled out here as we move a little bit further along in round number two.
One thing that we did with the Pantheon, they selected me fourth overall. I feel honored, but that was already a planned pick. We had a list of several players that we wanted to keep our eyes out for. And for us, if one player got taken, we still had another player on our list just to pick right up. So we wasted no time and get done with our draft and go on to the next. But one thing that I actually wanted to add on, you mentioned the four-man roster. Now that we're up in Challenger, this is very important here. This is where teams are starting to get good. Teams and players are starting to get good compared to, Prospect and Novice. They're okay. Same with Provisional. We're all okay, but Challengers where it starts to get good. These four-man rosters are going to be huge, especially since all four of them should be able to play at the same pace. They should be able to, if one player is playing bad, that same series rotate another player in so they can easily keep up their pace and keep playing how they like to play. So in the higher lobby or the higher divisions, these four-man rosters are going to be key.
Yeah, definitely. And something that's crazy, we talked about it, especially for the lower leagues. I think it's a little bit more of a jump for the lower leagues, but the challenger boundaries, this is the smallest boundary, the smallest like lower bound to higher bound in Nemesis. It is so tight, 1508 to 1611. And challenger, it's gone up more than what some people may have expected there. Um, and I mean, Flip, that's pretty crazy to me with how close this boundary is. And, it's not the normal, even last season when it got bumped up to, that like low 1600, high 1500, it's not the normal Challenger League that, people are used to from previous seasons.
Yeah, now it's competitive all the way through from top to bottom. Because honestly, I mean, yes, there's some 1600s, but even the 1500s on a good day, hey, anything is possible. And there's barely 100 MMR gap, and it's honestly not that insane of a gap. It's mid tier GC1 to pretty bottom of GC2, and honestly, all of these players like they can play at the same level. A lot of these GC2s that they might have just peaked GC2 and then now they're hard stuck GC1. And so honestly, the gap for Challenger is pretty much non-existent. It feels like. So we can look at the numbers and like, oh, this player has really high MMR, but honestly, until you get playing, until you get some chemistry, that means nothing in Challenger League.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true, and that's the thing with the league boundaries so close. Like you said, you don't really know what you're gonna get. These people should be around the same skill, relatively. I guess that's the same for all the league. They should be relatively around the same skill, but you never know what you're gonna get on these draft boards here, and it's going to be interesting. Challenger should be a fun time. I enjoyed last season too, and the past couple of seasons in Challenger. It's been a lot of fun, pretty competitive, especially last season, very competitive in Challenger League. Hoping for the same here as we got a couple of more picks coming through on the board for these teams. We got Nevin coming through for the race. So the race cooking something up over there again with Nevin. The Papayas going with Ace Cosplays for their pick. And then Snowstorm going ahead and selecting the former MVP of the Challenger League, formerly on Ascension. He is now headed over to Snowstorm for their final selection of the draft. So a couple more picks coming through. I definitely recognize Koala, the Ascension player, took the home that MVP a couple seasons ago, back in season 6. So definitely a solid pickup. If you're gonna call that guy a fourth man there, definitely a player to watch out for. I know he's played in a couple seasons, probably since that season 6 season, but he's back here for season 9. So I really like that pick. And then those other two picks. Also interesting to see what those two teams are cooking up.
Yeah, I do remember Koala. I might be mistaken for Koala Bear on the Kings last season, but I don't think it's that. Uh,
Different, yeah.
Ace, I think he just joined the server like a day ago, and now he's drafted to Papayas, so that's good for him. Nevin, I've never heard of, but I'd love to see what he can bring. J Dubs really, really wanted to be on my team, but Hellcats actually managed to take him, and I think he's really like what's that word where you like really, really want to be on a team?
Is that
Yeah.
active? I don't know.
Active, yes. I think he's
I
like one
guess
of the most
active.
active, and I'm really happy he's found his place.
Dedicated.
Dedicated.
That could be
There
a
you
good
go.
word for it too.
Dedicated, yeah, yeah.
There you go. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I definitely seen. I know J-Dubs was messaging a few GMs trying to get his name out there. So, trying to see if he could possibly get picked up. And like we've talked about in the past, activity will definitely get you picked up there. So if you're an active player, known to be grinding, known to be available, that's like we said, that's a lot of what people look for. So be active in the Discord, be active in the Twitch chat, be active obviously on the game as well. And you'll have a good shot to get selected.
Unless,
Yeah.
you do a tryout with one team and you really like that team, then you don't do any other tryouts with any other team, so no one else knows who you are.
That is a thing you could do as well. That's a thing you could do as well if you're certain you're going to get picked up. But I'll recommend for everyone, get your name out there, get your name out there. As yeah, the last couple picks have come in. So round number 2 is officially over with the selection of USAF Messi, former rival league player, dropping down, getting selected there onto the Raptors. So Messi popping in that Central Division there, and now they got Messi and Jay on the Raptors there. So honestly, for the Raptors only having the second round picks there, not a bad roster right there.
I love Messi. Messi is my goat. He is, I mean, the soccer player, but him too. Yeah, no, Messi. He is a really good guy. He's super available, and um, he's also super, pretty like super easy to play with. It's just he always gets passed up, man, every single time. And so I'm glad to see that he gets taken pretty early, late second rounder, but it works. And Messi, I know he's just happy to be on a team. And if you're the Raptors, honestly, this is the kind of player you want on your team. Someone that's definitely going to show up and definitely going to put out their best no matter what. And if you're on the Raptors, hey, you're teaming with a goat, all right?
Yeah. Respect. I mean, Messi is definitely a solid player. Been around Nemesis for quite a few seasons, so congratulations to them as that is going to wrap up round number 2. A lot of picks off the board, and honestly, a lot of new players, which you like to see. Some former ones I recognize: MP, Ezreal, Koala, Messi. But the other ones, definitely a lot of new players. Obviously, Milk as well. Can't forget about Milk. But a lot of new players as well there. So congratulations to all those people who got drafted, and we'll keep moving along here into the third round of this draft here. So let's keep things rolling with the Drakes back on the clock. Excuse me, looking for their final selection of the draft. 1525 to work with. So there's actually a lot of options available for 1525 on down. 12 players at least available for the Drakes to consider here. And they're gonna go ahead and select Kovalchuk for their fourth selection. Another Nemesis legend there in Kovalchuk, formerly on Ascension at one point actually. Actually, a couple seasons ago played against him in the Challenger League Grand Finals. That was a fun time. Good old Kovalchuk ended up taking him down in the Challenger League Finals way back in season 4, so a while ago. But Kovalchuk always seemed to be available. He's always hyping up his teams. So season 4 All Star as well, and that runner up in season 4. So that's a solid selection. That's a solid selection for the Drakes to round things out there with him.
Yeah, I do believe Kovalchuk was a sub on Snowstorm last season. I've seen him in a lot of places, so I think he's really competitive, and that's what I love to see from Kovalchuk.
Yeah, definitely. You want someone that's competitive too. That's the thing. When you get in a competitive league like this, you gotta be competitive. Obviously, a lot of people love to have fun. I love to have fun as well, but Kovalchuk definitely a competitor there on the Drakes, and we'll see. He may even have starter potential. That's the thing with these MMRs. A lot of times MMRs don't tell the whole story about who's going to be starting for a team. A lot of time it's not just MMR. It's about how you play. There's a lot of people that can be underrated for their MMR.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Griffin's taken their pick. It's gonna be Fort. Fort, another player that I think is above their MMR. But honestly, getting Fort like a player like Fort for 15, 17, super low MMR can definitely he's sub MMR value. So they still have the options to take a player that's higher up. And honestly, a lot of these teams they're probably gonna start taking some of these lower MMR players just to secure a solid sub spot. Not that these players are as bad as subs, but that's just what their value is. And so you want to take some of these discount values, to be honest, because someone like Drizzy, who is super mechanical, is only 15-23, but if you put him on a solid team and you give him some good pieces around him, he can be the best player in all the Challenger League, in my opinion. And so there's players like that their MMR does not tell the whole story. And Challenger League, it is so close, and so sometimes these sub MMR players, they are the ones that you're gonna want to take. Anyway, now the next pick up, Flame. Go with Bomb. Bomb's not a player I know anything about, but Flame,
Mm.
they're looking like a pretty strong roster.
Yeah, I actually know quite a bit about Bomb. I actually recruited this man in the league. We were playing when did I recruit him? I think I recruited him in a drop shot match a couple seasons ago. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. We were playing drop shot. I think I was playing against him, recruited him to the league. He joined a couple seasons ago. Been around for a bit here and there. So I actually really like Bomb. Bomb a great person. Good selection there for Flame. It'll be interesting to play against. I believe he in Rival League last season? I believe he was. He's got the season 8 runner-up role, so trying to remember, was he on Distortion? I don't recall. I'm not sure where he got that role from.
Uh,
Sorry, Bomb. I didn't quite follow, but maybe a cream, do you know?
he was on Pineapples.
Oh, pineapples? Okay. He was on pineapples. I knew that. I don't know where he got the. Oh, he must have been a AGM at the end of the season. That's probably where that role came from. Okay, I knew he was in Rival League. That does make sense there. So, yeah, he's moving down to the top of Challenger League. So that's actually Flame actually Smooth did some work there. Bomb, Freak, Mighty, Mealy, and Cade. That is a roster right there for Flame. That it's a little scary over there in the Atlantic Division. Not gonna lie.
Honestly, all four teams look like they could be in battle for first place. Depending on who Griffins and Papayas pick up as the Griffins could be picking up a new fourth or a new third as they have so much more MMR, so much more room still. They can take anyone besides the top three, and then Papayas they can take almost the same thing. There's two or three players that they miss out on, but yeah, all four teams in the Atlantic look stacked, and they honestly, I feel like every game that they play together will be a tight game, a tight series.
It's definitely going to be interesting in that division, and also curious to see what's going to go on down in that what do you call it, that Mountain Division? Excuse me, as Kareem, you guys have made your selection there with Dreams. They're coming to the Bishops. So Chad, Ethan, X Game Mode, and Dreams, who I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Kareem, Dreams was on the Rooks last season in your org.
Yeah, Dreams. He was insane on the Rooks. I just feel like he'd fit like even better with a higher league team. Like because of his insane mechanics, I think he's flip resetted like 12 or 13 times since I've been on a team with him, and it's a crime that he didn't get selected like earlier because a lot of people are sleeping on dreams or dreaming on dreams.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of people recognize the shot that he hit last season. Definitely one of those candidates when we were looking for goal this season. I can't remember if it made top three at all, but it was definitely up there. There was a lot of great goals last season. His was one of them with a crazy backboard read in that prospect league. So definitely someone to watch out for there on the Bishops as he's going over there. And Samurai coming through and selecting Asa Saber, who I don't quite recognize, but they're going to round out their roster. So Boom, Ezreal, Zephyr, and Asa Saber on the board. So Samurai, they've got their picks all filled out. And Orbit, I believe, they are also filling out their roster. They're selecting Loading and Error with their pick, way down at the bottom of the board, but enough to fit him on the roster here. So two more rosters flip rounded out here in the Central and the Pacific divisions.
Yeah, the roster is finally getting rounded out, and honestly, as a whole, the Challenger League it's looking super strong all across the board, and that's what happens whenever you get such tight MMRs like this. and a couple teams that I'm really liking. Obviously, Samurai with Boom and Adriel, and I think those and Zephyr as well. Those three, they're going to be a really solid team. But in my opinion, the strongest team to me right now. Yeah. Oh, that's actually tough. I put myself in a bad situation.
You should have said that.
Oh no. Oh no. I like okay. I like Drake's because of Seabiscuit. I think Seabiscuit he's 1583 on sheets, and that man can play like a 1650 if he wanted to. It's just he's so much better than what his MMR is, and I think the Drakes they're probably in my opinion my team to pick it to win it all. But honestly, all these teams it's so close. It's so hard to pick.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting here, as I'm up to make my selection here, and we do have quite a bit of room to work with in this one, but we're actually going a little bit down the list here. We're going ahead and selecting JMix with our selection. Came to a couple of our tryouts, really liked what he had on the table. He may be a lower MR, but this is what we talked about before, where I said, sometimes those lower MR players, they can be a diamond in the rough there. So we're gonna bring JMix on there, and I'm liking what I'm thinking. I'm liking what I'm seeing there to round out our roster there. So JMix, welcome to Ascension there. Hopefully we can do some good things, because some good things in the Central Division here.
Yeah, Jamix, I don't think I have heard of him too much, but I think he does have a lot of potential. I think he would be the super sub of that Ascension team. I think he would get along with him very well, Rockerman. The others I have found loading an error was on Assassins. I think he was the starter for that team and brought him to like a really far. Brought him really far. Yeah. Ace of Saber, I don't know about, but love to see what he can bring. And yeah.
Yeah, I believe Assassins last season made to the semifinals. Could not quite get the dub out in that semifinal matchup. I think they fell to the Hellcats in that one, and didn't quite end up making it all the way. But definitely, Assassins had a solid season in season number 8. And let's see what they can do here. Is now next pick is on the board. Dissolved coming through, and they're going to select Nathan with their pick. Another new player here. Don't quite recognize on this one, but Dissolved, I believe they're running out their roster as well. So probably they were looking at that sub position there. So they got Zay, Vmar, Rose, and Nathan, and that could be a scary team for Dissolved. Bmar, that new GM here, taking over for KN. I know Bmar did a lot. Won AGM of the season this past season, now taking over as the GM for that Deviation org. So he was setting himself up big. We talked about that big trade, and Flip, if he spent those picks, you gotta make it worth it here.
Yeah, and I think he really has Beamar, and I mean, he obviously took Rose with the second overall pick, and so you think Beamar knows what he's doing with that pick, and then he took like the highest player on the board with Zay, and so I mean, just looking like on paper, obviously it seems like Nathan's going to be that sub, but overall that team looks honestly like on paper probably the best roster in my opinion, like as a whole. But I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a tough division with the Drakes in there too, and honestly, Motion and Samurai both looking strong too. So honestly, I think that specific division is probably the division to look out for in Challenger League.
It definitely could be. It hasn't necessarily been the strongest division in all leagues and seasons past, but you might be right. There's definitely some heavy hitters right there. I think Dissolved and Drakes will probably be going at it all season long there, and that's the one thing you love about the division matches is these teams, they get to play each other multiple times. You get to play each other twice in the season, so a lot is on the line to win that division. Guarantee yourself a playoff spot for winning that division. So these teams are going to be going for it. They're going to be competing in those divisions to try to secure a top 6, avoid that play-in tournament, and make it right in the playoffs. So definitely, definitely going to be a good one there. As we had a couple more picks coming through, and I love this next pick here. A legend in my book here, a former season 4 champion in Pie Goat. They're going to the Papayas. Love that guy. Great player. Very active when he was around. Definitely had a shot. He also had a shot to go back to back in season 5. They were definitely one of the best teams. Couldn't quite pull it out though, but that's a solid player for Papayas to round out their roster with. Honestly, Pygo, if he's playing the game, he could even be a starter in my book here. So I really like that selection. And another selection that a lot of people might recognize here, Snazzy, who's been around for a long time, going to the Assassins there to round out their roster. So a couple of well-known names here from seasons past going through on the board there.
Yeah, back to back champions. Pygo, I think, got season 4, and Snazzy got season 7 with the Minotaurs. And yeah, really good picks. I'm surprised they went this deep. I think Snazzy could have been like a first or second, but it's whatever. Snazzy's found his place now. And yeah.
Yeah, Snazzy definitely has there, and great selection there. As I think we're missing a pick here. I was looking at the draft sheet. I was like, there should be another pick here. I believe someone accidentally deleted the Raptors for a second there, but we're good. But yeah, next pick coming through is Hypnotic as well, who was around I believe last season as well. I know they went to a couple of tryouts. Definitely someone that we were considering uh, possibly selecting there as they are going to go off the board. And then the Raptors are back again with their final pick, and they aren't messing around. They're going to the top of the board here with their selection, and they are going to select KNY with their pick. I believe 1611 or so, somewhere around there. 1609, yeah, 1609 there off the top of the board. So Raptors looking to stack up, and again another potential scary roster out there. You got Messi, J, and KNY. And if KNY lives up to that 1609, wait a minute, I don't think they can select KNY
No,
actually.
Yeah.
I was just
Nope,
going to say that they cannot do that. They do not have enough room for a fourth, so they actually cannot do that. So have to move that young lad back there because they need enough room to have a fourth and final one. So they're gonna have to try again. I was gonna say that roster's looking a little too scary for a second there. I was like, hold up, like something ain't quite right here with that one. So yeah, you have to have enough room to draft a fourth at the very least there. So yeah, 1496 would not give enough room. So they're gonna have to back that one up and try again. But still, KNY would have been a great selection there if they could have had the room, but it wasn't quite meant to be there.
Yeah, no, that
Yeah.
roster it was looking scary. But now maybe a little less scary. So we gotta wait and see who they end up picking up instead. But honestly, they still have plenty of good options. Like there's a good amount of pretty high MMR players still left up on the board, and not only that, they still have another pick later on. They have like the last pick in round 4, and so they have some time to think about who they want and who Jay and Messi are going to be able to work with, and they do end up making their selection. It's Seawall or Qual, I don't know how you say it, but that's a pig that I don't know anything about. So anybody else got some insight on him?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring him up a little bit ago because I saw that he was still on the free agents list. Him and Louis Saka. I got the honor of casting their playoff match last season, and both of them put up such a good fight. It I don't want to say it was a 1v1 between Seawall and Louis Saka. Both of their teammates definitely backed each player up as well as they needed. Unfortunately for Louis Saka, Seawall and I believe it was the Faded roster. Yes, the Faded roster took the win on that game. But Rockerman said earlier, the lower MMR players could be a diamond in the rough. I honestly thought that these two would go just like Yukio really early, even though they were a little bit lower MMR. They both are should be able to keep up in this division as their mechanics are great and their speed is also should be at par with these teams. So I feel like Raptors definitely got a good pick on that. Louis Saka, it would be crazy if Raptors got him as well, but I'd love to see them clash again.
That would be interesting. That would be very interesting. As we head into the final round, only a couple picks left in round four, because the rosters are all filled out here. So a lot of these picks aren't gonna come through. So just because the rosters are full, so we can only draft as many people as we can fit onto these rosters. So we'll see what these last two picks are going to be in a second here. But before I continue, a couple of quick shout outs to Fort for 12 months. Happy birthday to him on the Nemesis channel, subbing back there. Shout out to Fort with that one. And also shout out to Rilo for 11 months, almost his birthday there. So thank you, Rilo, for the 11. And yeah, as we move on to the last round, only 3 picks in this final round. That's usually how the last rounds go here in these ones. You get down to the final round, there's only a couple picks to be made. So as we head into this one, we're gonna have to see what the Griffins do, and they are gonna go ahead and select Drizzy off the board, and that puts the Bishops on the clock. And yeah, a couple of known names still on the board there that I recognize. I know you mentioned Louis Saka. That's definitely a solid selection. I know Lorefo was pretty solid. Very low MMR there, but definitely solid. I know Super Bleach was at some tryouts there, trying to get their name out there. They were pretty decent as well. We were definitely considering drafting them. Jonah was around last season. I know Gel was on Faded last season, I believe. So a runner-up last season in the Prospect League. So a lot of solid names, and that's not even all of them there. And looks like Kareem is going to go ahead and take one of those names that I listed off. Kareem, who you sliding with here? Who's going to fill in that 4th spot for the Bishops?
Louis Saka. I don't know why he went this low in the draft. I've seen him play like too many times, and I think he is worth it for the 1529 MMR price he is at. So I'm glad to have him on my team.
Yeah, definitely. That's a solid selection there as the Bishops round out things. And we've got one final pick. It's the Raptors, who started empty but may have built a pretty solid squad. They've got 1562 to work with here. So anyone from Necroptic on down. So they've got 10 options here to choose from for their last player. And then we'll see. We'll kind of talk a little bit about the rosters here, and they are going to go ahead and select one of those former Nemesis players there who's stuck around way until the very end. Last pick is going to be Jonah, who was on the Assassins last season, now going over to the Raptors. So that is gonna wrap up the Challenger League draft there with that final selection. So let's take a little look back here as the draft is concluded. Let's go around the room here. What are we liking? What are we scared of in the Challenger League? Irosa, maybe we'll start with you. Which rosters are you looking at here to kind of go all the way?
You want to know what I'm scared of in the Challenger League?
Let's hear it.
The Challenger League. Every team here looks stacked. They all look like they have such a great roster, along with they all look like they have at least 1 or 2 star players with a bunch of great, I don't want to say backup players because they definitely don't deserve that kind of name, but how well they should be able to mesh with their other player, like with these star players on their roster, should be great. While it's finished out, I still think that Flame, honestly, will be a tough competitor for the Atlantic East or Eastern Atlantic, whichever way it goes. I don't think that I can even pick one for Orbit, or not for Orbit. Orbit's good. Raptor's good. Raid's good. That's honestly just to draw the straws That's what I can say for that one.
Yeah.
Western Pacific, I think Dissolved and Drakes are going to be top two. Motion and Samurai are going to be really close behind them, but there's only going to be a 3-win difference between the first and the fourth. And then Bishops look good with Luisaka. I see them possibly duking it out with Assassins
Mm-hmm.
for first. That'd be my. All right, that's my summary of Challenger.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Kareem, I'm gonna throw it to you next for what you're thinking. Who are you thinking? A good, really solid team here. Possibly the team that's gonna win it all.
I'm gonna go by per division. Uh, for Atlantic, I believe it's gonna be Snowstorm. Brother and Bondo have played with each other in another league, I believe, and they were insane. I think they were Dan's teammate too, so bit of a mutual sort of interaction there. Central, I do believe it could go to. I think Orbit. It's really hard for that division. Pacific, Stiff, and Aqua, I believe they'll get that one. And Mountain, org bias, but Bishops, of course.
Of course, of course. All right, Flip. Well, I'll throw it to you before we wrap up this Challenge League draft.
Yeah,
Flip,
no,
you've been studying them. What do you got? What do you got?
I'll make it quick. It's pretty simple, honestly. For the Atlantic Division, I'm pretty sure Snowstorm have this one in the bag. Griffins, I feel like not really looking that strong of a roster. Same with Flame. Flame do look good with Bomb and Freak Mighty, but other than that, I'm not sure about Melee and Cade. And then Papayas look good, and I think Papayas will get second. But I think Snowstorm take that division. This Central Division though, that's a tough one. But honestly, I have faith in Bowser. I think Bowser is such an underrated player for 1529. I love playing with Bowser. Playing against him sucks. Yeah, I know that man's good, and I think Ascension are looking pretty strong there. Even though like their roster looks like on paper it has like the lowest numbers, so you'd think it'd be the weakest. But I have faith in Bowser and Q, Rockerman too, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit, and then oh man, Pacific Division. That one's impossible in my opinion. I think all four of those teams could honestly win it all. But if I had to pick one, I would say Dissolved with Zay, Bmar, and Rose. That is a really scary team. And then the Mountain Division. I want to say Assassins because I like Righteous. Righteous is really good, and Genia and Snazzy I feel like can complement Righteous pretty well. And honestly, Challenger League is going to be really close this season. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but it's gonna be a hectic battle for sure.
Yeah, it's bound to be another good one here in the Challenger League. I'm excited to see how it's gonna all shake out. Yeah, I mean last season super competitive. Last couple seasons in Challenger League, man, they have been so competitive. Last season was insane. I know, it was a battle to the very end to avoid that play-in tournament. There were, I believe, Ascension. We fell into the play-in tournament at 11-7 there. So even 4 wins above 500, still fall into that play-in tournament. Just goes to show you how competitive that league was, and it may be shaping up to be another one here with these guys. So I'm excited to get things going there. And once again, I got to give a reminder for anyone that didn't get drafted. Make sure you guys stay active in the Discord. There's always roster moves. We still have this next week. We got a week of break for teams before opening day starts. So a lot of roster moves will be made. There are already being some people that are being moved. Maybe GMs are being a little quick with that, but regardless, there are some people that are going to be inactive, or they may go non-playing after like, oh, I actually cannot play this season or whatever. And there will be a lot of roster moves made, in the next couple days, going into this next week. So we should guys stay active in the Discord. Even if you didn't get drafted, that's the best shot here. These teams are always going to be looking for subs, either free agent subs when someone doesn't show up to the game, or players on their roster in general. So make sure you guys stay active there. But yeah, that is going to wrap up the Challenger League draft here. So what we're going to do, since we got a lot of drafts going on today, we still got 2 more to go, Rival and Titan, and we'll be switching some casters around. Maybe not for this next one, but the one after. We're going to take a quick 2 to 3 minute break here. Allow our casters, allow us to rest our voices, grab a drink here, allow you guys to go grab a snack before we head into the Rival League. So make sure you guys stick around. We'll be back in a couple minutes with the Rival League draft. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back for draft number 2 of the day here as we are now heading over to the rival league. So the leagues are going up, the skills getting higher, and we've got a lot more content coming your way here in the rival league and then Titan League to round things off. So the best of the best. Saving them for last here as we're heading into this one. So welcome back, everyone. Looks like we found Irosa. He has appeared. He is not just a mythical figure in the background. He's a real person here on the camera. So welcome back, welcome Irosa. Welcome back
I'm
there.
a real boy.
He's a real boy here, back out here, back with Flip and Cream as well. As you guys are going to bring you guys the rival league draft here, starting up here in a second. Before I continue though, a quick shout out to Ina's there, coming back for the 4 months, much appreciated on the resub there. And we will get things going here. So the rival league, Flip, I know you've been awaiting for this one, a resident rival league expert here, ready to see how things turn out here.
Yeah, no, I've been super excited for this one. This is my league. This is where all my homies are, honestly. And
Mhm.
man, it's where I am, and it's where my team's gonna win it all this season. Hopefully,
Okay.
God, I hope so.
Uh,
I need a win. But I mean, honestly,
yeah.
these teams and a lot of these players, they're all so good, and I just can't wait to get started, man.
Well, why don't we get things going here? Blaze is on the clock, and they are ready for their selection. The number one overall pick is gonna go to Magma there. So Magma heading to Blaze, the number one overall pick there, heading that way. So an excellent selection. I believe former Titan at the end of last season, if I recall correctly, or maybe no, he was high rival on Gravelords, I believe. Um, so another high rival there going first off the board, heading to Blaze, who they made some moves there, made some trades, traded away Dissa and Magma Smooth and Aspen on that roster, look a little dangerous out there.
Yeah, already.
It's only I'm sorry. It's only
yeah,
the
yeah.
first round, and already, let me count: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rosters out of 16 look mostly rounded out, look like they know what they want, and it's only been the first pick of the first round. A lot of these players in the free agent list are so good, so I do feel like a lot of these other teams are going to still be competitive, but already the 5 minus Blaze, they have the what's the word? The chemistry. They already have the chemistry besides, the couple of players going up from challenger up to rival. They already have the chemistry. They're set. I feel like those 5 Pineapples, Chimeras, Galaxy, Bearcats, and Vortex are already set for this season.
And the second pick of the draft, the return of the legend here. He may have been a low MMR player on the board. He has bottom arrival in his name, but he is top of the draft board here. Didn't go number 1 overall, but he does go number 2. It's Squirrel, the management legend, the senior manager of the team there, getting selected there to Hydra. And that is maybe a little bit surprising to me for him. I knew Squirrel would probably go high, maybe first round, but for him to go number 2 overall, Biscuit may be cooking something up over there.
That's what he does. Biscuit likes to cook, and he's cooking with Squirrel apparently. But I mean, he has another pick. He has the number four pick as well. So there's some good players obviously that he can still pick with that pick as well. But I mean, as I was saying, man, these teams, they're looking like almost complete already, and that's it's scary whenever you're drafting, because you have to compete with some of these already strong looking teams. Like, I mean, look at Vortex. They're trying to run it back, but they're just replacing Isaac with LK. Like, that is such a strong team already. And so there's so many teams that are obviously really good. And I mean, with the first 2 picks, Magma did really well in Rival last season, was the best player on his team, and now Squirrel got taken, and then Trash Can Evo getting picked with the 3rd overall pick there. And oh my gosh, Seabiscuit didn't waste any time, and he picked Squirtle too.
Yeah, that is a roster right there. Evo go into the defending runner-ups there in Distortion, and then Squintle and Squirrel. It seems like Squintle has always been around somewhere in the rival league, just waiting. He's been on quite a few different teams. He was on a rival at one point, I know,
Mhm.
and he's heading that way with Squirrel and Squintle. So we got the SQUI squad right there, both the Squirrel and the Squintle. They're teaming up on Hydra. So that's a spicy one. And hey, we talked about Magma. Just want to throw it out there. Veteran of the season, last season for Magma there. So definitely a deserving number one overall pick. And the next one's coming in. It's Flip's team, and they are going ahead and selecting Edwin. And I was very surprised this guy was even this far down, considering
Mm-hmm.
he's been a former Titan, was on Pinnacle for a while there, giving Pinnacle a good boost in the Titan League. Edwin's been around for probably since way back in season one, here and there. And Flip, he's heading to your team now. You and Edwin might be cooking something over there.
Oh no, we've been cooking before. I've teamed with Edmund in a couple times, honestly, and actually it was me, Edwin, and Foam on a team once
Hmm.
upon a time. And so the squad's coming back together, and we know what we can do. And Edwin, obviously, he was Titan last season, and now he's barely rival, and so we'll take that one for sure. And I mean, next pick is already off the board. Man, these rival teams, they know who they want. That's for sure.
Yeah, they really do. As Big Wade is going off the board, I've heard some good things about this guy. I don't know if I've seen him before. I haven't seen him before, but I know he's played in a couple other leagues in the past, and I believe he was at a couple of tryouts, and people were kind of hyping him up, or at least he was talking in the Discord. So I've heard some hype around him,
Hmm.
and he is going to Lightspeed. So big C Dubs looking to make some moves. So Mangoes, Big Wade, and Saucy on the board over there. So they pretty much rounded out at least a starting three potentially. They still have 1655 to work with, but they've got something working over there on that team.
Yeah.
As the
Sorry, I was just working with some stuff, getting some important stuff. But Edwin, I believe, was on the Spartans last season, and I think he did drop down to 1710. And I think he would be a really good player working with Flip, and I believe they would really go far. It all depends on who they pick up next.
Hmm.
And Squirrel going second overall, honestly, is a big W in my book.
Yeah, you love Squirrel. You knew when he was coming back, he'd be one of those guys that people were gonna seek to pick up. I mean, he's sitting there. He's been All Star multiple times, 3 time, actually 4 time All Star. What was that? He's got 5 runner-ups there, champion. So I knew he was doing a little bit of GMing at some point. GMing, AGMing over there for the Fruit Ninjas. Help a lot for their success, but he has made the grand finals quite a few times and come so close, oh so close for Squirrel. But he's hoping Hydra is the one, so I do like that selection there. As Pelosa is off the board, heading to the Gravelords, another Nemesis legend here, been around for a while. They're heading with Dissa, so Dissa and Pelosa going over there, and then a whiteout is coming through, and they are selecting Velatech with their pick off the board. So it's
Yeah.
another one, another interesting selection. So Velatech and Magic Pepperoni, that is a combination I did not think I'd be seeing today, but here we are as those two are going to be teaming up for season number 9.
Both of these players, or both the picks that have gone that just went off the board, with Pelosa and Belichick, both those players were really solid in Rival last season. Vel was able to make a Thunderbirds roster like the second overall team in terms of record. Unfortunately, he had to go down playing due to some scheduling issues, but he was a very important factor on that team. And then Pelosa was on a disappointing Lightspeed team, but he was definitely the player to watch on that team, and he did the best he could with what was around him. And now that he has Dissa on his team, that is a scary 1-2 duo right there, and that's a Gravelord team that honestly, with how the Central Division was last season. This season, it's looking even scarier.
Yeah, it is looking scary. I am very scared considering I don't have any first round picks at all
Yeah.
on arrival there. I've got 4 second round picks, so that will be interesting on that one, on that front. But we'll have to see here as
No.
the next one's going off the board for the Knights here, and Flip is reacting to his new teammate in T-Man. Flip, was that who you were thinking you guys were getting? Is that the plan out here? Or,
No.
uh,
T Man. Okay, look, T Man is a very good friend of mine. I play games with T Man like all the time, but I hate the way he plays Rocket League, and so it's gonna be an interesting season. Gosh. T Man's a homie though.
well,
He's fun.
he is a cool guy though. I will say, T-Man. Yeah, I agree with that a little bit about homie, but that is very interesting. But on paper though, T-Man pretty good player. Edwin
Yeah.
obviously really good, Flip solid as well. So adding T-Man that roster, it'll be an interesting time over there. So it appears. So you love to see the live reactions
Ugh.
on stream there. So they got it all working out there as the Bearcats coming through, following right behind. They're selecting Spooky with their selection, who I recognize, but I don't remember where I recognize them from. The name was Tombs before. I think they were on a team last season, if I recall, but I don't remember which. I don't know if you I don't know if anyone else knows a little bit more, or maybe I just recognize them from doing the interest forums. That could be it too. But yeah, regardless, he is heading over to the Bearcats, and then the Thunderbirds on the clock. We talked about their great season last season. They're going to go ahead and they are selecting Pharaoh with their selection
No.
on the board, who is another very good player that's hanging around. You had to, when he was dropping down here, some teams were just looking, just waiting to see a Pharaoh on the board. And I mean, hey, if Pharaoh on the board there, you got to take him right there.
Yeah, kind of interesting. Both of Pharaoh and Spooky were both on Galaxy last season, and they barely did not make playoffs. They needed like one team to win, and I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure it was Whiteout, and I'm pretty sure they lost. And so if the Galaxy had that go their way, they were making playoffs. They came back from I think we went on like an 8 game winning streak at the end of the season to almost make playoffs. They were a really solid team, Pharaoh and Spooky, and so now they're getting separated, but they're gonna do great things on their own. I know Pharaoh. I play twos with Pharaoh all the time. He's a really good player, really good dude as well. Super chill, and so I'm glad to see him go in so early. Spooky, I don't know as much about, but both those players did really well last season. I expect some really good things this season.
Yeah, definitely. It's that Central Division again. Pharaoh heading to the Central. Bearcats not in the Central, but they're down there in the Mountain Division. So, but they round out their roster actually. The Bearcats do. Ice Griff, Blueberry, Casp, and Spooky, and that's two champions from last season. Ice Griff and Blueberry. Blueberry, one of those MVP candidates from last season, putting in some work there. So the Bearcats filled up roster. That does look scary down there in that Mountain Division. Only them and Vortex have players on their roster down there. So Mafiosos and Kings, they're going to be have to put a little bit of work right there as Whiteout is coming through and selecting a champion from last season. Who I knew this guy was going to go off the board relatively early. Ice Panther going over to Whiteout there. So Velatech, Magic Pepperoni, and Ice Panther, and on paper another very solid roster there, Irosa. Oh, I think you're muted,
Yeah.
Irosa.
Oh dear, my bad.
That's
One of
all
my
good.
one of my fellow Isaacs actually. I've known him before I was in Nemesis, and he's always been such a great overall player. It's a huge pickup for Whiteout. I feel like him paired with Magic Pepperoni and Velatech is going to be killer up top
Hmm.
in the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting roster to see there. Like I said, it was not the combination that I would have picked. I feel like it's almost to me like three of the most random pairings you could possibly get. Like if I were to pick like three like different people in rival league and pair them together, like that might be the roster I would have picked. But like honestly, they're all good in their own rights. I'm just very curious to see if the chemistry is the move for those teams. Like if the chemistry is going to work out between those three, because all three of them have some good potential, but it's just about how they're going to work together.
Absolutely. And I remember last season, I'm not going to say names, but there was one team that was completely stacked of players that I thought was going to honestly go undefeated, who I believe they only won one game last season, and it wasn't too pretty. So it doesn't matter how stacked. This is completely going against what I just said for whenever they picked up Ice Panther, but still, it doesn't matter how stacked a team is. It matters how much the chemistry works out. But also, knowing Ice Panther, he likes to put in the work with his team, and I'm sure Dan likes players like that. So I don't know too much about Velatech and Magic Pepperoni. I know they're really good players, so if they have the same strive as Ice Panther, they will dominate in rival league.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see. We'll definitely have to see as next pick is on the board for those Thunderbirds as they are rounding out their roster here early in round number one with their second pick in the last three. They're going ahead and selecting Aqua, another player that's been around in Nemesis for quite a few seasons here. Now moving over to the Thunderbirds. So Fate, Pharaoh, Courses, and Aqua. And that is an interesting combination of players. I definitely like Pharaoh. Fate and Courses very good as well. Aqua solid too. So that's a pretty good all around roster there, Flip.
I'm surprised Aqua's that low in MMR. To be honest, he's a really really mechanical player. He did really well on Whiteout last season, getting fourth with Tashega and Squintle. But honestly, I don't know much about Fate. But Pharaoh, Courses, and Aqua would be a scary team in Rival, and they still have so much cap space even with Fate. Like that team could be absolutely crazy. I mean, honestly, it's a very underrated team in my opinion. Like just looking at the numbers, they don't look that scary, but that's a team that you definitely cannot sleep on. Those guys are all individually talented. I think Pharaoh and Aqua have the mechanics that to compete with anybody in rival. Honestly, in Titan, even those players are just that mechanical. And so I think the Thunderbird are going to be a team that might be a little underrated going throughout this season. So I'm excited to see what those players can do.
Yeah, definitely so there as yeah, they've rounded out their roster. Galaxy still sitting with Boy Wonder, Spork, and Kaysen. They have one selection to make at pick 22, and then the Gravelords with Dissa and Pelosa, they still have some selections to make as well. So scary division over there. I'm a little bit terrified to see what I'm gonna have to pull out here in round number two with my four picks. So I'm mentally preparing myself for who's on the board, but the one thing about having four picks relatively close to each other, not much sniping can happen there. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it shakes out here as Distortion now on the clock there, and they are going ahead and they are selecting Pillow RL with their selection, who is another player I had my eye on there, so making my job a little bit more difficult. But Pillow RL heading over to the runner-ups from last season in Distortion. I think
Distortion.
Creamy might be muted as well.
Yeah. So,
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, someone came in and I had to like turn my camera off, but it's on now. So basically, Pillow Earl was on my rival team last season, played with Kratos, and they went all the way to the semifinals. So I'm really glad they got selected in the first round. And speaking of my rival team, I went and selected TRS rival because he was in my tryout for the Kings and he played phenomenal.
Yeah, I saw him typing in the chat earlier too. I was like, he's like, someone better pick me up, and I was looking at him a little bit. I recognized the name, so and a high MMR player to boot. So definitely a solid selection up there for sure. So we'll have to see how it turns out for you. And then yeah, Pillow. heading over to Distortion there as they look to make it a third straight season in the championship round, hoping to pull out the win this time. So Dexter, Ebo, and Pillow RL over there, and then Vortex running out their roster with Shorts RL, who has another solid selection. Shorts was running the league in prospect, then got up to challenger, and then now is the bottom arrival, the sub for the defending champions there, which is going to round out a crazy. Honestly, that was a crazy round one. There was a lot of, I mean, a lot of these people we might have suspected were going to go in this round here in this first round, but still, I mean, there was quite a few teams with multiple picks. I mean, Thunderbirds had two, Whiteout had two, Hydra had two, Distortion had two, Knights had two. I mean, there were a couple of teams that really stacked up in this first round, and I mean, a lot of them looking like they probably got the rosters they were looking for.
Yeah, a lot of these rosters looking like they're almost completely filled out. I mean, there's a couple rosters that still need some work. Kings and Ascension, just to name a couple. Not to call you guys out or anything. Mafioso is also trying to pull off some kind of miracle late in the fourth round there. But there's the other teams. They're all looking super solid. Not gonna lie, like uh, already the way that this rivalry is looking to shape up, it's gonna be an interesting season. A couple of these teams, I said it earlier, Vortex, they're trying to go back to back with LK Lucian, Flame Intruder, and then they have Shorts as the sub. That's a team that I'm honestly always scared of. And then Distortion with Pillow, Trash Can, and Ebo and Dexter. That's a team that already looks super super solid. And honestly, I can't wait to start the season because I'm gonna beat them all.
There you go. There you go. Well, we'll have to see with that roster there. If they do beat it all, I don't know about that one, but hey, you can certainly give it your best shot there. As we'll move on to round number two now on here, as Hydra has made their selection to get a third man on the roster, and they have gone and selected Doodle with their pick, another Nemesis legend here on the mod team. So Squintle, Doodle, and Squirrel. That seems like a combination that would happen in the rivalry. Those seem like three just rivalry staples right there, all on a team. And Irosa, I mean, Biscuit, he's done it again maybe here with his couple picks. Is he's got those three guys rocking and rolling.
Biscuit, I've never personally talked to him, but he seems like that kind of guy who always can pull something out of his back pocket. Doesn't matter. He can be down in the middle of the season and not win a single game. And I don't know how many people watch the NFL, and he could be like the Mike Tomlin of Nemesis. He can never go negative. I don't want to say never, but you
Besides
know what
last
I'm
season.
saying. Yeah, besides last, but last season
It
never
was a
happened.
it was a fluke. It was a fluke season.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think you're right on. Biscuit's one of those guys. Been around Nemesis since season one. Was always winning, always putting together solid teams there. So um, yeah, he definitely got something cooking. And speaking of cooking, I better get cooking because now it is my first pick of the draft, and I gotta do a little bit of looking. So you guys can cover for me for a second while I
I
while
got
I look.
this. Nah, it's kind of funny. I'm looking at this Hydra roster, and you have Doodle and Squintle, who were actually on the Galaxy team last season. But they were on the team that started the season like 1-6. So I don't know how their chemistry is gonna work. Doodle was actually ended up on the Knights on my team, and we made playoffs. We did get eliminated in the first round, but we made playoffs as the sixth seed. I'm pretty sure, and it was a pretty solid season. It's just Doodle can sometimes be really hard to play with because he's just super super aggressive, and so sometimes if you don't have that solid defender or if you're not scoring a lot of goals, it can be a tough season. But maybe Squirrels that piece they need on Hydra. I'm not positive. But it's an interesting combination how they're kind of running that one back, and I'm kind of excited to see how that team works out. That team I feel like is going to be pretty interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Also, one team, I feel like Grave Lords, whoever pairs up with Dissa and Pelosa. Dissa is a really good player. I've played six mans with both of them, and unfortunately, they ended up on a team together against me, and it was not a fun time at all. So any person that they pair with these two should honestly be a tough roster to beat.
Well, guys, I have done it here with my selection here. I was thinking about this one here, and I was doing a little bit of looking between some of these players. I've gone to the very top of this one. I've gone with Kilo 1722 here at the top of the board. Has been around in Nemesis a little bit. Recognize the name there, so all the way at the top. I'm taking Kilo to start out the roster for a rival. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what else I can cook in the rest of this round. But start out high. We had a completely empty roster, so we're going to the very top, getting the highest MMR possible. So we'll make it happen.
Yeah, you gotta cook a lot. Not gonna lie, you got some competition, especially in your division. You got a couple really solid teams. Um, Gravelords looking really good. Thunderbirds looking really good. Galaxy looking really good. It is just a matter of time, in my opinion, until you're gonna build a solid roster with Kilo. Though, not gonna lie, there's still plenty of amazing players up on the board. Honestly, Clamps. I love Clamps. Clamps is a homie. There's still TMK. Uh, oh, Blazing. Blazing wasn't. Oh wait, never mind. Different team. Juicy Leaf as well. Spooky Noodles. There's okay. There's plenty of players. There's plenty of players for this rival team to build off of. Now Mafiosos. I don't know how many players are gonna be left for them in the last four picks, but they might pull something out. You never know. Some of those last minute teams, they can be the best ones. But I mean, Galaxy, they're looking to pick up their last player here, and they do. Their last player looks like it's going to be Unlucky. Unlucky is actually another really good friend of mine. Love playing with him. He's super, super. It can be super mechanical whenever he plays the game, and he's can be just a difference maker on the field. Him and Boy Wonder looking to maybe be just that absolute dynamic duo. Those two looking like a really strong duo right there on the Galaxy roster. Kaysen and Spork, nothing to scoff at either. And so I think that roster could be pretty threatening. But I mean, in their division, man, they got so much competition.
Definitely so. And another pick has come off the board, and it may have uh, it may have just thrown my draft plan for a loop already here, as Fakey is off the board, a low MMR player, but I was working around that a little bit there, but that's all right because I've got other plans. But Fakey off the board, formerly on Flame, I believe, a couple seasons ago. Maybe well, I don't think it was last season, but a couple seasons ago was on Flame, now moved up to Rival League. So low MMRs, Gravelords are trying to work something out with Dissa and Pelosa. They're 1623 to work with, and I definitely know their last selection. So um, we'll keep that in mind here when I have two more picks to come up in this draft here. But Cream going on the board now. Cream selecting No Mo here.
No mo.
Cream trying to build around TRS arrival there.
Yeah, Nomo also came to the tryout, and when I talked to TRS that I was interested in signing him up, TRS was like, Nomo should come with me, and there we go. I got two of them on the team now. I'm excited to see on where they're gonna go, and yeah, that's gonna work out really good.
Rockerman, he's up next, and I know he's thinking. He said a wrench was thrown into his plans,
Mm.
and he's got three of the next five picks, so he's got to think fast, and he's definitely typing to
I,
some people right now.
I,
I can tell.
no, I was typing on my calculator.
Oh, oh, he's doing math.
I was doing the math real quick, and I think the math works out for this at least. So I've got an idea of a player I've really liked in the past. I'm gonna go ahead and select Alex. Was on the Pineapples last season. Was a crazy player a couple seasons ago in Prospect. Was really solid last season, um, and a couple seasons ago as well. So I'm going with Alex with our pick here to pair him with Kilo. I know Alex very mechanical, so I'm liking that selection, and I still have quite a bit of room left, so I'm okay with that. I'm okay with this, and you know, I think it's a I'm liking what I got working here.
Ugh. I hated playing Alex. That man, he every single time last season on Pineapple, it was him going for an air dribble and then Kyle coming to demo you. It's a scary combo, and
Mhm.
whenever we played them, it was definitely difficult to deal with. And so, Alex, he does have the mechanics, like you said. Kilo, I don't know who Kilo is. I don't know how good he is, but and he's 17-22, so he hit that one time, and that must mean he's pretty solid. So I think that a rivals team definitely cannot be underestimated. Even though there's only two players so far for them, it's still looking like the foundations are there for a really solid roster. And we know he will be picking a couple players coming up, but Shun is going to get selected before that. And I really hope that was one of the players you wanted, Rockman. I really hope so.
I was considering Shun, that is for sure. I wasn't sure if I was gonna select Shun or not, but Shun is definitely very solid. So, you know, it is what it is. Kyle's a good GM, so I know he knows what he's doing there. So, you know what, fair game there, fair game
Mm.
there. As as I'm trying to, I don't know why I can't find unless this is his
Uh,
name.
That is him.
And that is his name. Okay, I was wondering. I was trying to find Blaze there. Is Blazin is off the board, headed over to Lightspeed there with that one. So shooting to Pineapples, Blazin to Lightspeed. So congrats to Blazin, another Nemesis legend here, been around for a long time. So congrats to him. Also, quick shout out to OD Melt for the 3 month resub. Much love to OD Melt there, and congrats to Blazin on getting selected. And they put me back in the workroom here. Got to get back to work here to see who can round my roster out with. So you guys can take it away for a sec.
Yeah, he's got to be cooking. And honestly, Blazing was a really solid player last season. I don't even remember when I played him, to be honest, but I just remember the name because it's such an interesting name. With I remember I think it was an or tag or whenever I played him, but he was a really solid player. He wasn't the most mechanical, but he was just annoying. He would demo you, he would bump you. You couldn't go for a ball without Blazing either challenging you and going for a bump or just getting a really solid 50. So having players like that in rival league, just being able to do it all, that's kind of what some of these teams need. You can't just go straight for all mechanics. It just doesn't not work up here. And so you need those kind of utility players that are able to do the rest of the dirty work, if you will. And Blazing is one of those guys. I don't know if you guys know who Rockerman is looking to draft, but Rockerman's gonna need some really good players. Not gonna lie, because a lot of the players have gone off the board. There's not that many lower tier or lower MMR players left, so he's got to think fast. Is there anybody y'all know that you think should have been picked up already?
mm, honestly, most of these people I don't know too much. I think Stack would be an option, but I think that's too expensive. So, oh wait, another person I know is Phelan Shiesty. I think he's been to a lot of tryouts. Oh, actually, Rockerman just selected someone.
Ooh.
I did select someone. I went low here because I know I'm gonna need a sub, so I'm working on the other one. I don't necessarily think he'll be a sub, maybe, but I recognize the name, seen them play a little bit. Going with the Juicy Leaf
Mm-hmm.
off the board. They're 1625, so that leaves me 1662 to work with here. So I've got a couple minutes to figure out where I want to go with this fourth and final pick here.
I mean, I saw Juicy Leaf in the chat a little bit as well. He was talking a lot. Oh, and he actually said it in chat. He said, "You best pick me." So
Well,
there you go.
there we go. All right. I like to
Yeah,
see that. That's what I like to see.
yeah. He
Yeah,
already knew, to be honest.
I got scared of the Twitch chat, then I had to pick him. So
Yeah,
he,
exactly.
he scared me into a selection here. So
It's a new way to get drafted, bro. Intimidation.
yeah,
That's what he did.
intimidate the
Holy
owner of
shit.
the league. Just tell him you better draft me or else. and then that's what'll happen. So
He just gave away the new strat for season 10 draft.
yeah, I'm just gonna be getting harassed in DMs
Yeah.
next season. But I've also got my last pick here. I was very considering this, so Cream did bring this player up. I'm going with Shiesty. They've been grinding the six mans. I recognize the name. They've been around a little bit here, so and going to those tryouts, obviously, but they've been grinding in the Discord. And decent MMR. Fill up my roster with some MMR there. Leaves some room for some players. It's I wasn't sure what to expect when I got to this second round here, to round things off with 4 picks in the second round. But honestly, it's not too shabby. I don't know if I would have selected this collection of players before, but honestly, I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to shake out. It's hard to know when you get all the way down to the second round without any players. So, you know, all things considered, I think I got some solid players. Hopefully, they work well together. We've got a solid 6,666 total MMR. So hopefully that's not a bad omen. Hopefully it's not a bad omen there, but definitely Kilo very mechanical, Alex very mechanical. I don't know too much about Shiesty or Juicy Leaf as much, but definitely solid players from what I've heard, from what I've talked around the Discord with a little bit. So um, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they can do. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but I'm very intrigued at the very least. So
I'm looking at this free agents list, and honestly, right now, I'm probably doing what Sans is doing. Who isn't going to get picked? I'm looking at all these rosters right now, and Elite Gonzo, a really high MMR player, and he can't fit anywhere else other than. Could he fit in Kings? I don't think
No.
so. No. Other than Mafioso. So there's a great steal for Sans as Hydra starting off round 3, selecting Chipmunk. So he has a squirrel and a chipmunk.
there you go. That is a duo I wasn't sure I'd see, but it's another duo that just makes sense here. It just makes sense. The squirrel and chipmunk. These like that entire Hydra team is just like you get a list of like just rival league people that you say, oh, I recognize that guy, rival league in Nemesis. I mean, Squintle, Chipmunk, Squirrel, Doodle, like those are people you would recognize in rival league Nemesis. So he's got the squad rolling over there. So um, honestly, a solid pick. And going back to Sands, we talked about it. He traded, in case anyone didn't hear, he traded for every single pick in the fourth round. So he had all 16 of them. He can only use the first 4, but he did get all 16 of them there in the fourth round. So shout out to Sands there. But that's something that's a little bit underrated with these drafts. It always happens every season. There's always some higher MR people that stay on the board because not every team can always draft multiple high MR players. So I really think that's what Sands is banking on here, as he waits and lurks in the fourth round with his 4 picks. As Blaze is going to come through with their pick here, as we've only got a couple in this rival league around here. And I actually like this pick here. It's Elite Inferno. It's not Elite Gonzo there, but it's Elite at 1634. I was heavily considering getting this guy. It didn't quite work out with the MMR that I was looking at, but he was messaging me. He's very active in other leagues too. But he said he's ready and willing to put some of those aside to come into Nemesis and give it his all here. So that could be a scary guy. Maybe Flip, you might know a little bit more about him being in some other leagues.
Yeah, I know. Elite actually, I'm playing him tonight in another league. So there you go.
Oh.
That's how active he is. He's very active.
There you go.
He's someone that's been around for a while, as well, to my knowledge. He's improved. I think it wasn't even last year, but he was around a 1450 player ish, barely cracking that GC mark. But now he's already up to 1630. He's definitely improved, and I think Elite still has room to grow even more. And so taking a player like that on a already stacked Blaze roster with Magma, Smooth, and Aspen, Elite is a perfect shoe in there for that last sub spot. And honestly, I think that team right there is probably one of the scariest teams on paper, and Elite just makes that team even better.
Yeah, it really does. And going to that Atlantic Division as well, we didn't really talk about this when Pineapples rounded out their roster with Shun, but Crafty Shun, Adala, Young Netty over there. That is also a very interesting roster. I kind of like that roster there. Adala was great in the Prospect League Grand Finals last season, moved all the way up to Rival, bottom of Rival there. So just enough to squeak in to Rival League. And, if Adala can keep that performance up, that Pineapples team could be interesting as well, as the Gravelords coming through, rounding out their roster with Kirby, who I actually did not expect that. That was not the person I thought they were going to take. Maybe they weren't in the know. Maybe they just randomly selected Fakey and were not in the know. But that is very intriguing to me, because I did not expect that. I thought I knew who they're picking, but that was not the one. That was not the one I expected there. So, but they take Kirby and round out their roster over there with Dissa, Ploza, Fakey, and Kirby on that one for the Gravelords.
Chimera's take their first and last pick of the rival draft, picking up Shifty as I believe that's their sub, completing almost every team. Kings are missing 2 players, Knights missing 1 player, Mafioso's missing their team, we all knew that, and Whiteout missing 1 player. So just looking at what we have here, I'm sure a lot of the teams that only have 1 player or 1 slot left are just looking for a sub. But looking at all of these teams, again, just like Challenger, I feel like all these teams are going to be so close, especially per division.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
Yeah, I honestly don't think that there was an L draft, and still with Sands, he has multiple high ranked players that he can still take, along with, in my opinion, some stacked lower ranked players that I'm surprised haven't gone yet, but you never know. As Cream is actually taking his pick. Would you like to
There he
talk
goes.
about that one?
Yeah, TMK MBL. I've heard of him on Whiteout last season. I think he was the sub. It was close. I don't know. Let me
Yes.
check.
Yeah, he was.
Deshaga, Squinto, Aqua. Yeah, I think he was the sub, but I've seen him in a lot of other leagues, and I think he is a really good fit for a third. He didn't come to my tryout, but I think I'm excited to have him. And yeah, speaking of
Yeah,
Whiteout, they're next.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick for sure there. I've actually seen TMK around. They were pretty active, asking me a lot of questions about Nemesis, I think a couple seasons ago. And from what I've heard, they're a good person as well. So I like that selection there for the Kings. So the Kings getting TMK, leaving 1664 to work with. So quite some room there, as Whiteout is on the clock here, as we've only got a couple more picks left in the Rival League draft. Round 3 is almost over, but as we mentioned before, round 4, those last couple rounds, usually they go by pretty quickly here, as there's not a lot of picks. The only people that are picking around number 4 are the Mafiosos. They've got all 4 of their picks, so we are excited to see what Sands is going to work with here, as the next selection is in here from Whiteout. They're going to go ahead and select Spooky Noodles there at 1625 for their selection to round out their roster, leaving themselves with 1 MMR remaining. So they were working that MMR cap right there to get that final selection. So Whiteout officially rounded out their roster there with that selection. Yeah, with one one MMR remaining there. So and now flip that entire Atlantic Division is set, and there are some rosters up there in the Atlantic Division, not gonna lie. Chimeras too, Whiteout, Blaze, Pineapples, not too bad.
Yeah, and all 4 of them, obviously, I mean, they're rival players. They're going to be good. Like I said, I think Blaze, in my opinion, is like the best roster on paper. To be honest, like that is the roster I'm at least most scared of going into this season. But I mean, you can't sleep on the Pineapples at all. And the Whiteout, Whiteout is the most interesting team in my opinion with Velatech, Magic Pepperoni, and Ice Panther.
Yeah,
That's such a combination. Like I don't
that
know how
is.
it's gonna work, but it's gonna be interesting to say the least. And then Chimeras had Big Rick last season. I'm pretty sure they had J Rod and Arc as well. They're kind of just continuing what they did last season. Last season they were a good team. They were an upset team though because that team formed really late into the season, but they upset a lot of good teams, and so you cannot sleep on that Chimeras roster. Like their record last season does not show just how good they really were, especially towards the last half of the season. So that's a really, really solid roster. And honestly, that whole division is kind of up in the air. I'm not gonna lie. I think Blaze take it, but I think Blaze might just take it all. So that's not
Hmm.
saying much.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see here as well, folks. We're on to what everyone's been waiting for the rival league draft, the fourth round to the mafiosos here. They are getting put on the clock right now as they have four selections here. Still quite a few players to work with. I mean, they have there's 13 players on the board. A couple of the lower players went off there, so it might be a little bit tough for them to work out that magic. But I'm sure Sans is looking for something in that draft board. That is a thing of beauty right there. As you see, mafiosos, they get the first four picks. They snagged all of them there in this round number four. That is very impressive from them there. And we're gonna have to see. Round number four is on the way. Um, and we're gonna see what Sands and the Mafiosos are gonna do here with his fourth round squad here that he's trying to pick up. So um, I don't know, guys. What do we think? There's a lot of names on the board that he can work with.
He has to take elite, right? He has to take elite Gonzo. Like it's just the highest MMR
Yeah.
player. I feel like it's have to. I don't know. There's a good amount of players though. Clamps is pretty active. I don't know how active he is in Nemesis, but in other leagues he's pretty active. Really good friend of mine. Stacked, Stack's actually like so I talk to on a daily basis. That man is really, really. I mean, he's really active. But he's a really good guy, really down to earth. But other than that, I really don't know many of the rest of the players. So I'm not sure who Sands is looking at, but he's got a good amount of time. He actually takes Reprise, who was a player I was gonna mention. He was actually on my team for like one game last season,
Mm.
and then we dropped him. Uh, yeah, that's all I'll say on that.
It happens sometimes, but yeah, Reprise has been around Nemesis for a while. I know, remember them being on Gravelords at one point a while back, so they've been around quite a bit here, at least a little bit here in this one. So they're gonna make Mafio's gonna make their first selection here with Reprise. So 1692. So they went pretty near the top. They didn't go all the way to Elite Gonzo, but they go with 1692, possibly knowing that a lot of those lower MMR subs kind of got taken out there. So we'll have to see what they're thinking on next here as they're back on the clock yet again here, looking at this one to see. And I mean, Irosa, there's still a few names on here that we recognize. At least I know I recognize a couple of them. I don't know if you recognize a few.
Recognize a few, but like last draft, Challenger League is where players started to get good. This is where players start to get really good. So I honestly feel like Sands will be fine. I feel like any players that he will get here, if they don't work out together, I feel like they will still put up enough of a performance to be seen by other, GMs and AGMs to where Sands will be able to work out a trade to at least make a decent playoff contending team.
Yeah, I mean there are definitely the players on the board, and Sands. I know he's thinking long and hard about this one. I mean he has all the picks. We're all waiting on him, but that's something you have to consider. That's the one thing I was working with when I had to pick four people pretty close to each other. Is you only got 3 minutes to make the first selection here, and you got to plan out pretty much the entire roster. Is the MMR going to work? Can you fit all these people? If you get this top guy, what can you do with the bottoms here? It's a lot to consider when you're kind of, I guess, in some ways winging your draft here at the very end. So they are going to go ahead and they're going to select Preki with their pick, or maybe it's Freaky with 2Ks. But they're gonna take him there onto their roster. So Freaky at 1652. So it still leaves him 3325 to work with. So quite a bit of, I think, quite a bit of room relatively. So they still have some options.
I did have a question. So, if your 3 minute timer runs out, your pick gets moved to the back of the draft, but
Mm-hmm.
you're still the same order. So, how would that go?
Yeah, I
Well,
was wondering
it,
that too.
it, well, it could move to the end of the round. So if it got moved to the end of the round, you can imagine if he didn't pick by 51, his 52 pick would be up. And then if he didn't select again, then we'd have to select for him. So hopefully, I don't think he wants that.
No, no
But
Sans, no Sans. We're not fighting out.
don't you shouldn't give him any ideas
Nah,
to
he's
waste
talking
all
about it in chat.
our times. Oh, I know. He's saying let's find out. I
He's,
said we shouldn't give him any ideas though. But regardless, we'll wait for his next pick to come in, um, and see what they got going, so we can get moving along, get everyone's nights moving along here, so we can get to the Titan League draft here very shortly. So looks like they are typing out their pick though, and they are gonna go ahead and select Recon with their pick here on this one.
huh.
So I don't know too much about Recon, but they are selecting him off the board there at 1682. So they must have the room to work with here. They're going to get 1682, and then what do that leave him with here? We'll wait for that
That's
to
math.
we'll wait for that to get updated on our sheet. Thanks to our helpful mods in the background. Shout out to our mods. Putting in a lot of work behind the scenes tonight to make sure you guys can see the updated draft board on the public player sheet. But Recon off the board there to the Mafiosos. So we'll have to see what that gives them there. Might have to calculate it myself real quick just because I'm curious. 1643 to work with.
Okay.
So what does that give them on the board there? They got three options. And honestly, not too bad options there on the board. They got Wanold, who I don't recognize. You got Clamps, who I recognize, and you got Hayos. So honestly, three solid selections that you could pull out there for the final pick.
Come on, Sans. We're all waiting on you. It's all on Sans now. I feel like he's just playing with us a little bit. I feel like he knows who he wants to draft for this final pick. He made that first selection, and once you have your top three, your sub spot, it's kind of just someone that you know is going to show up and you know is going to play well. I think it's between Clamps and a House or Haos or however you say it. It's probably between those two because those two players are very active. I could
Well,
be completely wrong.
oh, you were completely wrong, as they have gone and
Oh,
selected a Wanold there with their final pick, who we didn't know too much about, but Sand says he has a W bio, so they're taking him here on this one. Said he was rank B for a day, so respect on the
Nice.
bio there. So a nice solid pick to conclude things out. So Mafiosos, they make the four man final round to work there. Some solid selections, and look at that. They used up every single bit of their cap room down to zero. So they really worked it all there to get that one. So yeah, now we're set for rival. Almost about to move on to Titan. One reminder again for those people that didn't get drafted: make sure you guys stay active in the Discord. There will be people that will get dropped in the coming week or so, whether it be inactive, doesn't fit with the roster, schedules don't work out, etc. So make sure you guys are staying active. Give you guys your best shot to get onto a roster. But let's talk a little bit about this. Let's get some first impressions here around the board about the rival league. Um, let's make it a little quick here. Let's get some first impressions. Let's start with Irosa. Who's winning it all here? Which team are you liking the best out of all these teams here?
I gotta start again. I'll say Central and Pacific. They both killed it. For Challenger and Rival, at least today they both killed it. I haven't really gotten to look at Prospect and Novice, but I believe they killed it as well. But per division, I'm gonna make it quick. Atlantic. I'm just gonna go Blaze, Central. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
Gravelords. I'm gonna stick with Gravelords because I know what Dissa and Pelosa are both capable of. Pacific. I'm gonna go with Hydra. I love the Chipmunk Squirrel combo. And then Kings. I'm gonna have to go Kings for the mountain.
All right. Not too bad, not too bad. I'll throw it over to Cream here. For what are your initial thoughts here, Cream, on these teams, the best teams in Rival League so far, or most interesting maybe?
Atlantic, I gotta go with Whiteout. Velotech, you know him. Magic Pepperoni. He's been with Sub Zero for quite a while now. 3 seasons. He was on Flurry, going to Snowstorm, and then going to Whiteout. I did play with Magic Pepperoni actually back then, and then for Central, I'm gonna go with Grave Lords. That team is very scary. I'd love to see what comes from there. Pacific, um, thinking about Hydra with the Squirrel team. Love to see that. And Mountain, you know it, baby. Kings for the win.
There you go. There you go. And well, last but not least, let's leave it to our resident Rival League expert here and Rival League player on the Knights, Flip. Flip, who are you looking at in this league? Who we talked a little bit about some of the scary teams, but who's the scariest here? And maybe some interesting teams that might maybe make an underdog run.
Blaze and Gravelords. Those two definitely looking like the scariest teams in my opinion. Those two are looking really solid. But underdog teams. Well, I said it earlier. Thunderbirds have a very underrated roster. I feel like they got to prove themselves before I can pick them to win some things. But I feel like they really can. They can really bring it together. I think Distortion with Pillow, Dexter, and Ebo is a roster that honestly is, in my opinion, looking the best in the Pacific region, or Pacific division. Other than my team, Edwin Team Man and I. We'll be fun. I'll say that much. It'll be an interesting team. And honestly, I can never count out Lush and Flame Intruder.
Yeah.
Those are another underrated team in my opinion. I think Vortex, the Kings, they look good, but I think Vortex, I feel like they're just too well built. They're gonna be good, and honestly, I think I'm pretty accurate with that one. I want to see a rival do well, but that's a very tough division. But a rival could be another team too. There's just so many.
Definitely. There's a lot of interesting teams here. I was looking at Distortion as a possible underdog. Someone we didn't talk about at all, really, is Galaxy. That team is probably, since we didn't talk about them, they might be a sleeper team over there with Boy Wonder. They added Case in there and F5 Unlucky through the draft. So that one, F5 Unlucky and Boy Wonder, if Unlucky is a very solid player, which, the MMR might suggest that, with Kaysen paired there and maybe Spork, depending on who they want as a third, that could be a very a scary team over there. And obviously, Bearcats, we didn't even talk about them much really, but Blueberry was insane last season. Ice Cream was very solid. Casper is always around in Rival League, and Spooky could be another solid selection. And Chimeras are running it back. They had a pretty decent season, a play-in season last season, pretty much the same roster as last season. So I'm interested to see how they compare in that one. But yeah, definitely some intriguing rosters to say the least there. It should be another interesting one. That's why I really like it at the beginning of the season. You don't know what to expect really. You don't know how this thing is going to shake out. Some of these teams, are just absolutely going to destroy everyone. You're going to come out of nowhere. There'll be some teams that, we thought were going to be really good and they just turn out, well, I guess they're just not, not as good as we thought. So we'll definitely have to find out there and see. So with that being said, that's the Rival League draft concluded. A couple quick shout outs again to OD Melt for gifting 2 subs. Much love to OD Melt there in the chat. for that one. But yeah, what we're going to do, folks, is we are going to take a short break again to get prepared up for the Tight League draft. We're going to switch some commentators around a little bit here as we head into this last one. So make sure you guys stick around. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with the Tight League draft. The best of the best are on the way, so make sure you guys stick around, and we'll see you guys in a few.
On the phone. I always miss you when you gone. I miss you when you gone. When are you coming home? I always miss you when you gone. I miss you when you gone. I always miss you when you gone. I miss you when you gone. Here I go. Talk to him. 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 They don't know how we do it. They'll never get it anyway. Conquering the impossible, all with a smile on our face. We work hard, we play harder, we push it to the limit, going farther and farther. We work hard, we play harder, we push it to the limit, going farther and farther. Grind all day.
All right, what is going on, everybody? We're back for the final draft of season number 9. I know a lot of people are excited for this one because we've got the best of the best going off the boards here. One of the leagues that it surprised a lot of people. The MMR minimum went up. The boundaries changed a little bit. We've got also the most players in any league this season in the Titan League. So people were saying they weren't sure if Titan League was going to survive this season, but Titan is apparently bigger than ever here as we're heading to the Titan League draft for this one. So it should be another exciting one. I'm Rockerman back in the booth here with a couple of fellas here, some newbies in the booth here, and some returning. So we got Irosa coming back here. So welcome back, Irosa. We also have some new guys in the booth. They're also invisible, but that's all right. They're here in our ears regardless. So we got Fly Penguin. Fly, welcome back to the booth. It's been a little bit since we've had you around, but how you doing?
Yeah, it's been great since the provisional and prospect league grand finals. Those were my last times in the booth, but today I'm identifying as transparent, and hopefully I get to watch live as my picks don't get sniped here in the Titan League.
Well, we will have to see if your picks do get sniped or not. I'm sure there will at some point. That's how it always goes there occasionally. So it happens. It happens sometimes, but we'll definitely have to see. Best of luck with the first Titan League draft of your career here as a new GM. So we'll definitely be seeing how that works out. And we also got another legend up here in the booth. A newbie, but he's been helping us out on the news side of things recently. We got the one and only Silver J back in the Silver. Welcome to the booth. How you doing?
How's it going? I'm ready to get this Titan draft going. It's exciting because the top league in Nemesis, so some of the best players around. Some of these players even go on to like join RLCS and stuff. So this is probably the biggest one out of all.
Yeah, it definitely is. There are so many great players. We've seen them time and time again. And like you mentioned, there are players that we've had in this league that, they're playing in RLCS quals, they're playing, competing in RLCS. So we've gotten some big names on the board, and we'll see how it all shakes out here. So I guess we're going to get this thing underway with a little bit of a bang here, as I have made some maneuvers here in the Titan League first round. I think I did something like this last season. I can't remember exactly. I think I got the first overall pick in Titan last season through some trading. But I've gotten the first 2 picks of the draft here, and I had a plan. I had a plan from the beginning, from the get-go. I assigned 2 players to my roster, and I'm coming back here, 1 and 2 back to back. First overall, I'm going with Brandon here for my first overall pick. These guys were fighting in my DMs. They said, "Please make me the number 1 pick. Please make me the number 1 pick." So they made it tough on me. I'm going with Brandon first, and then back to back, I'm going with Mitch for my second pick there. So Brandon and Mitch, teammates on a different team here. They play a lot together, and I've got big plans for them. Big plans for them on this Pinnacle squad here to make some moves there. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited to get them on the squad and see what they can do for Pinnacle this season.
Yeah, we were talking in VC before about who Rockerman was going to take number 1 and 2, and I guess it completely went over my head who he was going to take because I was just too worried about my draft. But these are the 2 obvious picks. Throwback to the Nemesis League battles. I forget who hosted that, but these guys represented Team Nemesis, and they took that home, and now they're going to be a dangerous duo for Rockerman's Pinnacle and Titan League. It's going to be a rough go against these guys.
Yeah, definitely. That was a fun time. That was a fun time there in that was RLSC that hosted that. I know ASCII was big in charge of that one. And yeah, that was a fun time. That was a fun time. We did end up taking it all, proving that we are the best league, of course. And Brandon, Mitch were part of that team. So happy to bring them on the squad there, and we'll have to see what they're gonna do as Cream has come through and selected selected Nuggy here with their first selection of the draft. No one on their roster, so going up for the 2K there, Iroza. You gotta go for these 2Ks when they're available, and you got no one on your roster.
You know, even Titan League, I believe we have it as players. Yeah, players over 2,000 are still worth 2,000. So even the higher up they are, it may not be the highest player, but it will still be one of the higher players compared to the rest of the league. Especially since we have such a big gap. It's above 2,000 to 1723, and I don't want to say the 1700s are going to struggle. I just feel like the 2000s are going to strive.
Hmm. Yeah, they often seem to do that there in the Titan League. And like you mentioned, yeah, anyone that's above 2000 MR, they get capped at 2000. That gives those higher league players, that are way higher than 2000 MR a chance to, fit onto these MMR caps, fit into these rosters here. So definitely some hot commodities for sure out there. So there goes Nuggy to the Grandmasters. Blizzard has come through and selected Dank, and Godfather is selecting a newbie in Y. Was that YS ALSYG? I got a lot of numbers or numbers letters. My brain is fried here. A lot of draft talking, but some rosters they're getting started. The defending runner-ups there in the Godfathers looking to make something happen there, Silver. So a couple good picks coming through. I don't know if you know anything about either Nuggy or Dank, if you've seen him around, or anything you can add about the Godfathers too.
Well, I do know that it's interesting this beginning because there was originally 5 teams that had no players at all. They needed a complete new team. But looking at some of these beginning picks, a lot of them are going to be able to go ahead and grab a player pretty early on. And with you getting the first 2 picks, your team is completely full. So it's a very interesting start in Titan. I don't get to see very many of these guys talking as much, but I'm sure if some of these 1900s are getting picked over some of the higher MMR players, they must be pretty active.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I know ALSYG has been typing a lot in chat there. That's the one thing, for Titan players, these guys, they're always grinding something. These guys are the best of the best. They're always playing in, either the official 6-man server or in scrims with another team that they try to compete in RLCS with or whatever it may be. So I think you're exactly right. Looking for activity there. Dank has been around for a while. Nuggy's been pretty active, also a 2K. And then ALSYG, also very active in the league this season, and a 1940 MMR player. So solid selection there. And we'll have to see where these guys are still gonna go. And something that's surprising to me, I gotta point this out before we continue on. Tomer is 2000 MMR. Is that right? Is that right? Like I love Tomer, but I didn't know he went that crazy. I didn't know he went that crazy.
I think Tomer's just built different.
He is. Apparently. No, I love Tomer, but like this man might have had the craziest peak that I ever seen. I remember this guy in Rival League. I love Tomer in Rival League, but I did not expect him to go all the way up to 2K MMR there. Yeah, apparently he's hit 12 or 2012 MMR on the board, that is absolutely crazy to me. I love Tomer though. I love Tomer though. I just like saw that and I was not expecting that, but that is crazy to me.
For the folks at home, those of you who don't know, Tomer last season was an 1821 on Vanguard. Now he is past 2000.
Crazy. Some of these guys they're just peaking out here. They're just peaking, and you got to give some respect to them as the next pick is off the board. Denzi is going to the Reapers, and that's an interesting pick. He was my captain last season, so I knew quite a bit about Denzi. He didn't respond to me in time to re-sign So I was a little bit sad about that, but things work out with how they work out. So the Reapers, their Penguin, they're going to go ahead and start their roster with Denzi. So a lot of room to work with. They don't go for a 2K, but they go down a little bit. 1946 going to pick up a Denzi there.
Yeah, and with these Titan League players, when you get the high ranked 2K players, like reveal the highest player on the player list, he hit 2.2K MMR. So if you pair him up with like a 1700, he might not be performing the best because his teammates around him aren't there to support. So if you go with these lower 1900s, they may be able to mesh better with closer ranked players. But as we see Venganza selecting Indicator, I was talking about Reveal being the highest, Indicator's right below him. I say right below him, but he's 2027, I believe. And so there's quite a gap between those two, but he is the highest ranked draftee, and Indicator going to Venganza, who I believe was empty going into this. So that's a good way to either start off the roster or have a great addition.
Yeah, definitely so. And did want to look into this real quick. That was someone else that I was looking into. That was Rec. I was looking. There was another 2K player that I was looking at in Rec who used to also be 2200 MMR, but has not hit that in quite a bit. But they're another player on Bananas already selected. I was making sure we got these MMR right because I knew one of them was changed down. But that was Rec that I was thinking about, not Reveal. But yeah, Reveal. I mean, what else can you say about Reveal? Champion last season, and man, he went crazy. He went crazy in the postseason. We all saw him pop off, and man, he went crazy. And here comes the pick in. Yeah, Indicator going back to Venganza. By the way, love that selection there. Those two have some chemistry over there with Indicator and Lumi on that roster. So that's a scary roster. And Tomer is going off the board here to Nebula at 2K MMR. I mean, I talked about him, you know, and Tomer, man, he's just that guy. He's just that guy.
I can point this out now with Nebula as well as Venganza. I was looking at both of them. Venganza, now the highest MMR player that they can possibly get is a 1770. So, will they be able to have that above 2000 and low 1900 mesh with a mid to low 1700? It's the same question for Nebula as they have Tomer and Ashes meshed with Zap. And they can get a sub, but only, well, there's still actually quite a few people from Bootsy down, but still it's going to be a lower ranked sub compared to, say, it's Tomer and Ashes. And if you have to sub one of those two out, say one of them have to miss it, how different they'll play with a lower ranked player in place of a higher ranked player.
Yeah, definitely. That's the one thing about Titan. You know, it's quite a gap. Obviously, we're trying to close that gap as much as we can, but you know, it is quite a difference from those 2000 MR players. The more higher players we get, though, in the future, the better the Titan League will be, the higher it'll get, and it seems like it just keeps going up season after season. This is the highest lower bound for Titan that we've ever had. So the highest minimum to get in the Titan League. So it's going up. I think eventually it will continue to go up, but yeah, for now, definitely quite a scene over there. And we'll have to see as the next couple picks are coming in. The Dragons are going to go ahead and select a Blocky, I think formerly known as Blizzy. Was on the Reapers a long time ago, coming back into the league there. And then Blizzard, they are going to go ahead and select Moifin, and Godfathers are going to go ahead and select Tiz71, who I do not recognize, but a couple of picks there. Silver now for these couple rosters with Dragons finding another one a little bit different from their last season that they had, and then Blizzard also usually a staple in the Titan League making some selections here.
Yeah, one thing about these two teams, though, especially with the Dragons, if you look, their team is within 21 MMR for everybody So they've really taken the average player kind of role, not getting anyone super high in MMR, but trying to keep everybody around the same rank, maybe to help with that chemistry. Blizzard's doing something similar, but Dan has grabbed a couple higher, a little bit higher ranked players, 1908 and 1876. So those two rosters, completely full now.
Yeah, they've got their 3-man roster, and yeah, they're looking to run things. So you got Dank, Tox, and Moifin on Blizzard, and then you've got Blocky, Vulcan, and Mayo on the Dragons. So we'll see. The Dragons, Penguin, I'm sure you remember that one from last season with the Dragons taking all those low MMR players in the Titan League, and they actually surprised everyone, myself included. We're a little bit wrong about them. They made it to the playoffs, got first rounded. I think did they get swept? They may have gotten swept in the first round, but they surprised a lot of people by taking some 1700s all the way to the playoffs.
The Dragons got absolutely disrespected last season's draft because I think that's probably the first time I've seen Rockerman mad on stream. Was when the Dragons were making their picks, but they proved that if you get a couple guys that grind together, that play together, that they can make a difference. They were all like 1700, and they proved to make the playoffs despite their low ranking. So just get some grinders that play the game. But before I switch off to whoever, I have to note Moifin getting drafted in the top 10 because he is a homeboy. I met him at Worlds. He's always talking in Hub. He's just a great guy, and I'm pretty sure he did not want to be drafted, but the Dan plan has its ways. So shout out to Moifin, and shout out to my experience at Worlds with him because, oh my God, did I have fun with him.
There you go. Yeah, I love Boyfin, a great member of the community here as well. Good to see him getting selected. And yeah, back the Dragons, all it takes, some grinders in a weak division, and you two can make the playoffs. So congrats to them. But sorry, a little sneak diss there. Maybe not sneak, but no, they actually did good. They actually really surprised me. So I was definitely wrong when I said that they were not going to be a good team, but they proved everyone wrong. And I love Mayo too. Mayo's a Nemesis legend there. So yeah, they proved a lot of people wrong, and did that. So congrats to them. And yeah, Moifin getting selected there for Blizzard. We saw Tiz. We don't know too much about in the Godfathers, but Godfathers defending runner-ups there. Vanguard going ahead and selecting Larry with their pick, and then Inferno selecting Big Crate, another great Nemesis player there, always competing. It was a huge player in Challenger 2 seasons ago. Was huge in Rivalry last season. This man is on the up and up right now on Inferno. That is a great selection. And then the Spartans are coming through, and they are going to select Danger with their pick.
Yeah, it's nice to see Big Kratos getting drafted. I finally talked to him for the first time in a VC recently, and he's a pretty chill guy, and he's just great at the game. And I'm pretty sure, like you said, he was in Rival last season, so it's nice to see these long-standing members of Nemesis getting better every season. And so congrats to Kratos to getting drafted in first round in Titan because he really deserves it for peaking as well as he does. Because like Nemesis is like some of the best competition you can get. It's like if you're grinding with these people and seeing better players, you'll get better just by being here.
Yeah, definitely so. And he is, like you said, he is that guy. He's the poster child for that, maybe, if you will. Is he's had 2 great seasons. I believe Bishops and then Kings last season. So the man knows how to grind, knows how to get up there. So Inferno, they're gonna go ahead and pick him up, and that's actually gonna round out their roster there. So they got Aura, Yerks, Kratos, and Mu RL. So that's an interesting roster there. If Kratos can continue to peak. I mean, Aura and Yerks on Inferno last season, towards the end, they were a scary duo out there in that Atlantic division, and they kind of proved some people wrong in the playoffs there. They gave it a good run. They gave the Godfathers a scare there, who ended up making it to the grand finals. So um, definitely with Kratos there, if Kratos can continue to peak, or even if Mew is the starter there, I'm sure Inferno is probably in for another solid season here, Rosa.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, no offense to Mew, but that Kratos pick was huge. I love Kratos so much just being in a VC with him brings energy, and I feel like Kratos will bring that new spark to Inferno, and may or may not take him all the way, as Sans had his beautiful rival draft. He will be taking blue alongside with Tizzy and I'm a butcher at Alsig.
Uh, Blue's actually going to Vanguard.
Oh,
So
Vanguard.
yeah,
Oh dear.
Vanguard's selecting Blue.
Oh
So
dear. My bad.
it's all
I
right.
looked at the wrong thing. Well,
No worries.
congratulations to Vanguard taking blue paired up with Larry.
Yeah, that's interesting too. I know Larry. I believe Larry was a former 2K, if my memory serves correctly there. So that could be a solid pairing over there in that one, and that's the first round in the books. Silver, I want to throw it over to you as we just saw Isaac, the last pick there for the Krakens. I'll let Fly Penguin talk a little bit of selection in a second here. But Silver, what are you thinking of this first round? What are you thinking of these teams as they kind of fall as round one concludes?
Yeah, there's some teams that are getting most of their 3-man roster, obviously without the sub kind of sorted. You always wonder if some of these picks maybe aren't their first choice. Maybe a couple snipes here and there.
Mhm.
With some GMs having picks in a row there at the beginning of the draft here. You wonder if they had to make adjustments. I'm sure some of these GMs, like ours had in Glaze, we try to keep a couple different picks kind of lined up. Like if we can't get this guy, maybe we can get this guy, and uh, that way you don't have to sit there panicking when someone steals your pick.
Yeah, definitely so. And Fly Penguin, as the second round starts up here, with the Spartans selecting distant and diversion being put on the clock. What can you tell us about Isaac there? The Nemesis legend getting selected onto the Krakens there with the last pick in the first round.
Plead the fifth. No, but it's all gonna come together as soon as I get all my picks in. But Isaac, he's just great. Isaac is just a long-standing member. I'm pretty sure I forget where he was when I first got into the league, but he's just been getting better and better. And the Krakens are gonna surprise people. Let's just say that's all I gotta say for now.
All right. Well, you do have two more picks in this round to make here, so we will have to see. We'll have to see what you're gonna do to cook up. But Isaac, yeah, like you said, probably on Flame, either Flame when he got in the league. I know he's on Vortex last season, moving up now to the Titan League. So this man has been around. He's former MVP of that Challenger League back in season 7. So and a multiple time All Star. So this guy he's one of those guys that's been around Nemesis. He's gonna make a name for himself, and we'll see what he's gonna do up there in the Titan League as we're waiting for a diversion here to make their selection to start this round. And they've got a couple picks to work with. This is a lot like my scenario in the rival league where they've got 3 picks here. They got 18, 23, and 24 in the second round. So a lot to think about for Mr. Beemar and company to make their selection here. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they're gonna do here as we're waiting on them to make their selection here.
Yeah, once they get these 3 picks, they'll have a completely full team. So not looking too bad if you can get your entire team within the first 24 picks. You got some pretty good choices, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And this is the one thing I was very curious to see how tight it was going to go because when I was trying to make some trades, when I was making my trades to get those top 2 picks there, it was not easy. Let me tell you, it was not easy for some of these people. People really wanted their Titan picks this draft, so it was a bit of work there. And I actually traded with Bmar here and Diversion. They had the number 1 overall pick, so he wanted to get that one traded away and moved back here in the second round. And we're waiting on his selection here for diversion. They've got only about 30 seconds to get their pick in before it gets moved to the end of the round. So hopefully they can get their selection in here shortly, and then we'll see. But the time is ticking for Mr. Beemar and company. So we haven't had that yet. We haven't had a pick move to the end of the round yet. So that would be a first for the drafts today. But it's looking like it may be happening here as it's been more than 3 minutes. So
I'm all for it personally.
uh,
Less people to snipe my picks, so get out
yeah.
of the way.
Uh,
You know, how you doing? Keep it moving. So one less person to snipe my picks. But I will note, like, the people left on the draft board, we got Heck at 1936. You always see him around. I'm pretty sure he's been here for a while. So if you want to build a team, Heck might be a guy to select. And then you have Speed, who I saw DJD
Hmm.
say if he doesn't get picked top 25, we got some bad GMs. So he's still sitting up there. So whoever wants to not be considered a bad GM by DJD, snag him up while you got the chance.
Definitely so. And yeah, that pick is going to get moved to the end of the round. So diversion, that 18th pick will be essentially pick number 30, 33 over there, I guess, if you will. So they'll be picking at the end of this second round here. So we'll have to wait on that. But that'll put the Grandmasters on the clock now to make their selection here for their draft. And we'll see what Cream is going with. And it looks like they're going to go with Deluxe, who a long time ago, well, maybe not that long ago, but at least a while ago, back in season 5, was actually on this Grandmaster squad and won the Titan League MVP. I recall that very, very vividly because the season after, I made a trade for him to get him on Pinnacle there. So, Rosa, you know anything about Deluxe? Have you seen Deluxe around in the league before?
I can't say I have, but after hearing what you just said, I'm sure that Cream really knows what he's doing with this pick, and I'm sure Deluxe will feel right back at home.
Yeah, definitely a solid player. I love Deluxe there. So that's a great selection in my book there to go in that Grandmaster squad. So Nuggy and Deluxe, that's a pretty good roster. A pretty good roster, if I do say so, to start there. So we'll see what else Cream has to work with as this thing goes on. But we got the Dragons on the board here, 1915 to work with here for their selection. So a lot of people available, and Biscuit looking to work with something. Silver, I don't know if you're looking at some of these top players here. Have any ideas as to where they might go? I know it's hard to tell for sure, but any ideas of players you might be looking at up there?
I would definitely have to go with Penguin and DJD. The speed I've seen around in the chat pretty frequently. I feel like I've heard of a couple other of these guys, but with Dragons having 1915, there's 22 people to choose from still. So, and unless one of these specific players made it to some tryouts with the Dragons, it's kind of hard to tell who they would go with. There's only 4 players that they wouldn't be able to choose. It's going to be a good rounding out of that team. Be interesting to see what they go with.
Yeah, it looks like their pick is in now. They are going to go ahead and select Mux with their pick. So a newbie to Nemesis, a rookie here in the league. I know that for sure. So a rookie coming in this league, looking to perform for the Dragons, and a high MR player at that. So Blizzy, Mux, Vulcan, and Mayo. That is definitely a squad there, a squad to work with. As that one is off the board, and then the Krakens. They're going to go ahead and select Cotney. So Cotney and Isaac off the board. Penguin has gone 1725 and 1724. He's putting to work on the bottom there, Penguin, with those low MR players.
Man, this Pantheon GM sucks, dude. Who is he drafting? What is he doing? He's going from the bottom. You're supposed to start from the top.
Mm.
But it's all part of the plan. I mean, it's getting clearer and clearer with this second pick who my team might just be, but I still got one more pick and there's quite a few people who might just want to ruin my night. So we'll see if that lasts. But Cotney, he's great. He's gonna do great things in this Titan League as he has in Nemesis for these few seasons. I can't remember exactly what teams he's been on, but he's always a name that's been around, and he's always a name that's going to be around because he's him.
Mm-hmm. I love Cotney. Was on Arrival last season, and formerly on the Raptors in season 7 and Velocity in season 6. He went back to back, beating well, one of my teams in Origin in that season 6 grand finals. I remember that. And then last season, the Raptors, he took down my team in Ascension. Actually, season 7, excuse me, he took down my team Ascension. So I had to bring him onto the squad last season for Arrival. They gave it a good run, and yeah, him moving up to Titan, good for Cottony there to move up, and he'll definitely be a guy to watch out for there. I love Cottony, so I expect big things from him as he is going off the board, and also going off the board now to the Reapers is another staple of Nemesis, another staple of the Titan League for sure, and that is Zin or Zinvez here going off the board. And finally, Zin says their name is Curse Broken because they had 3 runner-ups in the Titan League, and then finally in season 7 they broke through with that Blizzard squad, won that championship, the 3rd consecutive championship for Blizzard. So it's good to see Zin go off the board here. Another, like we said, Nemesis legend go into the Reapers.
Absolutely, as some of these rosters are mostly formed. Uh, most with well, I'd say most with 2. Diversion still with 1, unfortunately, after Bmar missed his pick. Uh, a lot of these teams with their already set 3 potentially, maybe looking for a new third and having one of their 3 drop down to 4. They all look stacked, and a lot of these teams look ready for the season, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, definitely so. And yeah, Zinvez with Denzi, that's an interesting combination. 2 former Pinnacle members as well. Denzi and Zinvez used to have Zin back in the Pinnacle org a while back. Um, but yeah, some solid selections there as they fill up 2 players on their roster. And Diversion, they are back here. Looks like Seiko's helping out a little bit as the AGM. They've gone and selected Damon with their pick.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
He
not
was.
too. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Silver.
I was just gonna say he was the top MMR player left in the draftees, so maybe basing his decision a little bit on that. But if they're that high of an MMR, they got there somewhere. So whether that they have good skill, good with either their mechanics or positioning or game sense, there's something that they've got. So that's a good pick, I would say.
Yeah, and I think a new player to the league, at least relatively new in the last couple months here. So might be their first season, the rookie season, go into Diversion there for their pick, and now Diversion gets to come back and take a second one here. So um, we'll see. Looks like Damon's saying they were on Diversion last season. It came into a bad situation, so hoping to get a fresh start on Diversion here, a new roster. So new roster, new setup here for them as they are looking to make their selection here, and they've got a little bit of time to work with. So we'll see what they've got working with. I mean, empty roster, and they had one big move to the end of the round, but not empty roster. They had JP at the end here, so Damon and JP on the roster. So 36-32 to work with, and Penguin they have some options here in the Titan League to possibly work with, and not I think at least 2 1800s. They go middle 1800s or low 1800s.
Yeah, there's definitely some people up there. Like I said, Speed, he's getting close to that pick 25 that DJD said. But I'd also like to note that if Damon was on Diversion last season, he could have re-signed and saved his team a draft pick, which you're losing one from not re-signing a player you had on your roster, and then you're also losing a pick from not selecting in time. So this
Mm-hmm.
for Bmar, I mean, he's AGM of the season, and he's been putting in work for that org for the past 2. I mean, as a new GM, you'd like to see something more from him, but it looks like he just selected, but pretty sure that player was already taken. It says Insanity on my screen, but looks like he's on Bananas.
He is definitely on bananas right now, so cannot take insanity. So Seiko's gonna have to try again here. As yeah, insanity is definitely on the bananas right now. As great as insanity is, he's teaming up with Rek and Bravo this season, running it back. So Seiko's gonna have to try again here. We'll give him a second to have him try again here. But if he's not quick, then we may have to move him to the end of the round. So yeah, interesting situation going on here. Looks like Bmar may have had some prior commitments, so Seiko's trying to help him out as best as he can here. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see, and you're taking a little bit of a look at that division there. That Pacific division, it's gonna be interesting. As well, maybe Irosa, you could talk a little bit about that Pacific division there in the tight league.
Gravity, Skittles, and Skyon, they were a power duo last season. Unfortunately, they couldn't keep temp, but props to him for just absolutely grinding and putting in the work. If they can if Dubs could find a decent third and potential sub for them, they will absolutely dominate like they should have last season. It was just unfortunate timing, like the rest of our org season was. But they look great. I'm really hoping for Psycho to pull something out here because I had high hopes for them in this draft.
I don't think Seiko knows what's going on here, as they
Yeah.
also just tried to select Lumi. So I don't think I don't think that's gonna quite work here. So we'll give them one more try here. If they can't figure it out here, we're gonna have to move them to the end of the round again, which I was hoping not to do, but you know, if that's what's gonna happen, that might have to be. Give them a little time to think about it. So we'll wait and see. Seiko is gonna try to make the selection. They are typing, so we will have a selection. They're gonna go ahead and select day. Does that give them enough room? I just want to make sure before before we select it. Just because
any other
1900. Okay, it does give them enough room, so we will allow it there. We can move along. They're gonna go ahead and select Day with their pick. So they got Day and Damon here on the roster. So the pick finally comes across for diversion. They make it work, and that'll put Venganza on the board here for this next one.
Yeah, I'd say Seiko was a little bit ill prepared. It's probably I wouldn't say it was his fault, but he definitely is trying his best. So credit to Seiko for scrambling and trying to do his best for his team. But he's definitely making it work now because luckily that pick didn't have to get moved because if he didn't leave enough room for the minimum MMR, it would not have gone through. So luckily he made the right choice and gives his team a chance to keep selecting. As Venganza's next pick is in, who wants to take that one?
Yeah, Veneganza gonna come through and select Botsy, who was on Distortion at one point. I know has been around. It was teamed with Edwin on Kings a couple seasons ago. I remember that duo was pretty solid. And yeah, it was Distortion last season, I believe. Yeah, runner up last season. So trying to run it back. They says they're 0-2 in grand finals, apparently, according to their bio. So trying to change things around here in the tight league for the Godfathers, or not for the Godfathers, for Venganza, excuse me, who has won a championship before. So we'll have to see what they're gonna do there as the Godfathers are on the clock here, and they're gonna select Speed, who we were talking about. Maybe Penguin is talking a little too much about it there on that one.
Yeah, I talked it into existence, but sadly for DJD's prediction, he went 26th, not 25. So it is confirmed all GMs are bad. Sorry,
Yep.
but sorry, Rocker Man. Sorry to myself, but we suck at this thing.
It happens sometimes. It happens sometimes. But yeah, Speed going off the board. I believe Speed was on Nebula, correct, last season? Am I wrong about that?
I could
Is that
not
where
confirm that for you.
is-
I'm not sure.
I can confirm.
he will confirm for us? But I believe they were on Nebula, maybe, possibly, somehow. But
Nebula. Bang.
All right, there we go. I did remember correctly. So moving over to the Godfathers this time, and then the Kraken's coming through, selecting Ibonic off the board. So Penguin, another player here, selecting going 1744. So this was Ibonic and Cotney, former teammates on our rival. We wanted to get Isaac, but we couldn't get Isaac. But now it looks like they're possibly teaming up in the Titan League.
And I did not get sniped, thankfully. The prophecy has come true. I saw in Titan Gen one day that Isaac was looking for a GM, and he slid into my DMs and was like, "Here's the plan," and I said, "All right, bet." So it didn't work exactly how we wanted it to, but we got it worked out in the end. And I'm pretty sure, is this the season 7 Challenger League champions? Isaac, Ibonic, and Cotney
Um,
on the
I
Raptors?
I don't was Isaac. I don't think Isaac was on the Raptors that season.
Maybe
Isaac would
not.
have been on Flame, but yeah, they
Yeah,
were
that's correct.
Ibonic and Cotney were teammates on that Raptors squad.
But either way, we got them together. They play together all the time. We are pulling the season 8 Dragons strat. We got some pals, we got some friends that grind together, so they've been all around, and we got our Titan team, so hopefully it works out for us. And I got an AGM out of it cuz Ibonic's going to be my AGM.
Nice. Well, there we go. So, congratulations to you. And we had a couple more picks coming through here as Hershey is going off the board there to Vanguard. So, a nice selection there. And then Grandmasters ready as well. They are going to go ahead and select Case. So, Silver, I want to throw it back to you. What are you making? What are you making of things now? As now we got a couple more people going off the board. Case all the way at 1723 going to the Grandmasters. They needed some lower MMR players, and then Vanguard selecting Hershey with their pick, and it's gonna help fill up their roster a little bit.
Yeah, there's not too many higher ranked players that are going to be able to be picked anymore. As you see, a lot of these teams, they're down to just around 1750 left for their MMR cap. So a lot of these higher players may just have to wait until kind of later in the season once teams start getting moved around, as we know they do pretty much every season. You know, something doesn't work out, somebody can't play, or the team isn't exactly vibing the right way, so we want to change things up. But there is a couple teams, Kraken's being one of them, and Phoenix, that are able to actually grab some higher ranked players. Gravity and Reapers may have a chance at a higher ranked player, but these teams starting to fill up. As you see, there's only 2 or 3 teams, actually I think 2, that have 2 players. Everybody else has at least a 3-man squad.
Yeah, it looks like like you said, most teams are filling up here right now. So yeah, we'll see. That's a tough thing. Is like there's always gonna be some people that are going undrafted, especially in this league now with how many Titans signed up. I've never seen that many Titans sign up. So it's kind of a huge influx here in Titan League players really ready to get into Nemesis, get involved in the league, and a lot of them did. So, and like you mentioned, there is always a lot of movement, especially in Titan League. There's always some people that are needed, to be free agents, to be, available after the draft for whatever changes may come up with these rosters. So we'll have to see as the Grandmasters also making their selection. You guys see it. I should be able to see it on screen there as well. Grandmasters going with Case, and then Gravity is going with Gavin with their pick, which leaves just Phoenix left on the board. Irosa, well, not quite the last pick of the round since Diversion had their pick moved, but pretty much the last pick of the round here for the defending champions who are looking to run it back and have some room to work with.
Yeah, Gravity taking Gavin a lower 1800 gives them room for a high. Well, as of right now, not really, because Phoenix is 3 MMR too high, and then the next highest is 1773 at S. So anyone below him is a perfect fit for that MMR. It just depends on who Dubs thinks or has talked to. I mean, he has 2 Gabes by the looks of it. Gabe and Gabe. One of the two should be good. Yeah, a lot of these 1700s could all fit in this gravity roster, and hopefully they don't mind being a sub because I know how well Skittles and Skyon play together.
Yeah, you mentioned the two Gabes there. I actually know they are two different people, so I can confirm that. One of them was I think Gamer Gabe on Pineapples last season. That's the 1771 Gabe, and then the GBE Gabe. That was the one that's been in Titan for a couple seasons. He was on Pinnacle at one point, I believe, maybe even Grandmasters last season, but he was on Pinnacle for a couple seasons. Definitely a very solid player. He was good as a sub there, but he's also a very capable Titan starter. So I really like him sitting there, and we'll see what Midnight and the boys are thinking here, as they might be getting their pick moved if they're not quick here. I know Midnight is apparently in he's out of the country at the moment, so I know he should be prepared. He's been able to do all the other drafts just fine, but he's only got about a couple seconds here to get his pick in. So otherwise, he's going to get moved to the end of this round, which is after diversion. So we'll see if he throws a pick in there quickly. Otherwise, might be time to move him to the end of the round there. Which it looks like it is time to move him to the end of the round. So they'll get to pick after this diversion here. So hopefully someone there will be able to get onto that one. But they've been moved. It's been moved to the end of their round here. So that puts diversion's repick on the clock. So we'll put them back up here and have them select again. So that's that's interesting. Two pick moves. We don't have those too often. There's only been a couple ever in a Nemesis draft history, but they do happen at sometimes. So you only got 3 minutes to make a selection. Sometimes you need a little bit more than 3 minutes, but it
Yeah.
happens.
Titan can definitely be a wrench thrower because you got a lot of people I'll say with air quotes with big egos because they are one of the greatest that Rocket League has to offer. And so they don't want to come to your tryouts. They don't want to be a sub. They know they're good and they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to reply to your DMs. So Titan can be tricky. So as hard as it may be you might just have to throw a dart because I know Iroh's been saying it that we've been getting to the upper echelon of Rocket League because Chally's all good players, Rival's really good, and Titan is great players. So you honestly, you might have a miss, but it's definitely hard to miss with these Titan players.
Yeah, definitely so. Sorry, go ahead.
No, okay. I was going to say another thing for Phoenix. I'm not sure why they didn't just throw out any random name. This was their roster at the end of last season. They're happy with it and they wanted to stick with it into the next. So right now they should just be looking for a sub. I'm not sure why one of the AGMs didn't step up and just type a random name or if they're actually looking for a new third. But yeah, if Phoenix and Midnight could have been here, they would have had it played really well.
I think if I was Phoenix, I would have just grabbed the guy whose name is Phoenix Ooh.
There you go. Get the Phoenix on Phoenix right there. Not too bad. Is
I did see Midnight in the GM's chat. He's asking where's Miles. He's busy. So Midnight's begging and pleading, but we do see him typing. But Midnight, if you could hear me, just throw a dart, brother.
You can pick anyone on the board. As we're again waiting for diversion, so we'll wait and see what they're planning on here as we're trying to conclude this round number 2. But we're waiting for them to make their pick, and they are going to go ahead and select Case with their selection here.
Case?
So all the way down to the bottom, they're going to select Case onto the roster. So I think they definitely had room for that. Yeah, they did. They didn't really have much room, but they did have enough room to do that.
Wasn't Case?
Case is already selected. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh no.
Grandmasters.
Have to try again.
Psycho, no.
He's trying to. He's only got 1732 to work with. He can pick any of these people. Come on, Seiko. We can do it. No problem. Any of these, we'll help him out a little bit. I'll send him the list. Any of these people. There's a lot of good people. You honestly can't go wrong with any of those people, to be completely honest with you. All right, they're gonna go with Poods here for their selection. So
All right.
there we go. They got it done. They got it done. So pick 18 that got moved from diversion. That's gonna go to Poods, and then it's gonna put Phoenix back on the clock for their selection here. As oops, we put back on the clock again. So diversion, they worked it out. They got a full roster. What do we make of this diversion roster now that they kind of got it worked out? They used pretty much all the cap room that they had available. So there's that at least.
So I'd note that all their players are within pretty much 100 MMR of each other. So the chemistry could be there because, like I said, some 2Ks don't play well with 1700s, and so but they're all pretty close to those top three. And they threw a dart for Poods. He's 1728, so you got to do what you got to do. And he might be a diamond in the rough. He might become a starter. He could win you series. He could win you heck the grand finals. So whenever you throw darts in the Titan League, you never know what you're gonna get.
This is true. This is true. You really don't. You really don't. And I actually, Poots has been around for a while, so I like that selection there out of those players. I mean, honestly, like I said, I don't think they could have gone wrong with whoever they wanted to select there for their pick. So I think they did a solid job. It looks like Midnight is typing. He was hoping Miles, like you're saying, he was hoping Miles was going to draft for him. But it looks like Miles is unavailable. Yeah, GMs, they can appoint someone to draft for them. They don't have to be an AGM. We've allowed that in the past, just for FYI future reference there. And it looks like they are going to go ahead and select. They're going to select Finesse Misa with their pick. Midnight says he wasn't supposed to be here right now, so he's throwing a pick on there. But hey, I've seen Misa in the Discord. They've been typing a little bit. I think they may have been active in six bands a little bit as well. So honestly, maybe not too bad of a pick.
I don't play six mans. I don't like
Yeah.
that.
That's all
Provisional.
right.
When I play six mans, I
Yeah.
get farmed and
Yeah.
people called, so I just avoid that channel
Yeah.
altogether. But it is a good way to get noticed if you're a new player. Play six mans because it'll get you drafted. It'll get you picked up. It'll get your name out there. Me personally, I don't like I don't like it, but everyone else can have a great time.
Hey, you know what? That's just what we like to call in the business as a skill issue.
Amen.
So,
really is.
but that's all right. That's all right. So yeah, regardless here, yeah, six man, it's an acquired taste. Some people really enjoy it, some people not as much, but it is a good way to get your name out there, a good way to play some casual games with some people. In Nemesis, get to know the community, so it can be a good way. I always recommend that for newer people, get involved in six mans early on and get your name out there. So it's definitely a good way, but regardless here, we're moving on to round number 3, where the Godfathers are on the board, and they are going to go ahead and select Paper with their pick as another lower MR player. They only had 1746 to work with, so they didn't really have too many options, but they're going to go with Paper down there. I believe Paper's already moving. The mods are quick. Paper was at 1726. So picking him up in that potential sub spot there.
Yeah,
that'll
complete their roster. So that has them with Alsig and Tizzy, Speed, and Paper with 20 cap space remaining. So all, like I said before, with Diversion, they're all pretty close together. So hopefully that strat works out for them because you can't go wrong with that with these Titan players. They know what to expect from each other. They know how to play threes. So if they're close in MMR, they can understand each other. They can vibe well. But that'll be the first completed roster there in that bottom division. I'm not sure the name of it. Apologies, but Mountain Division. So that's the first completed roster. But going against the Grand Masters, who did they just make their selection that I can't see at the?
They did. They just selected Drax.
So that's a rival player from last season. He was on the regular season's best. What? I'm
Distortion.
sorry. With Hawk, and they were a great team. So that's a great player who's been getting better with all the other players in Nemesis. So that's a great way to complete their roster as well with Nuggy and Deluxe in case.
Yeah, definitely so. And Drax, yeah, one of those players, like you said, runner up last season. So on that Distortion squad, he's been making moves now up to Titan this season. So we'll see what he can do for the Grandmasters. Maybe as their third there, either him or Case, it appears, with Nuggy and Deluxe. So we'll see how that works out. And we'll also have to see what Mr. Fly Penguin is going to do here as his Krakens are back on the board with 2,000 MMR remaining. And they are going to go ahead and select another. They're going up to the top this time, but selected a Nemesis, a little bit of a Nemesis legend way back in, been here since season one, a little bit on and off. But was back there in season one. They're going to select Heck, who was at the very bottom of Nemesis to start way down when we only had Prospect League. He made his way all the way up to the Titan League. So he's one of those success stories as well. We've had a couple of those people that have moved up. I think Isaac is also one of those people that may have moved up through every league. But Heck, one of those guys that went from the very bottom all the way to the very top, and now Penguin, he's heading to the Krakens there.
Yeah, I know my hands were tied with MMR, so I only had a few selections to make. But yeah, I had specific instructions to with my draft order, and then whatever was left, select the highest MMR player. So I think I got this draft thing backwards, but we got our Krakens, and I remember Ibonic was in novice, so he worked his way all the way up to Titan, skipping prospect. But yeah, we got some players here on the Krakens, and I'm looking forward to it. It's my first season of GM. I was most nervous about Titan, so whenever Isaac said, "Hey, who wants a Titan team?" I jumped right on it because I know Titan can be a time and place, and I didn't want to be a part of the grind.
You want to be part of the grind. That unfortunately that is our motto here. The grind continues. So, but you don't want to be a part of it this time. But worked it out here. Got a draft made, and you know it works. It works there. So also a couple of shout outs. I think I missed these two shout outs here, but shout out to Elite Inferno gifting a sub to Stacked RL, and then Elite Inferno subscribing himself there with that one getting selected earlier on. So much appreciated for the subs here on that one. And yeah, the picks are still coming in. Heck, going to the Krakens, and Glow, formerly known as Green Glow there, he is heading to the Bananas as their sub. They didn't really have many options to choose from there for their sub, but they swiped them all up, and it looks like, some other rosters, might be in that same sort of boat. A lot of these lower MR players have been getting snagged up here.
Most of them by Fly Penguin.
Who would have done that? Oh
no. There's actually going to be at least one team who isn't going to be able to get a fourth player. They're going to have to roll with three and hope that everybody can get their schedules kind of lined up here.
Yeah, it does appear to be that way, as there's a couple teams fighting for those lower mark players. It looks like, let's see, who do we got here? Vanguard is one of them. They'll be looking for a lower mark player. Blizzard is another. Nebula. So those three are going to be battling over these last two players at the bottom. And I think Reapers, they've gone ahead and selected Tashega at 1750 there. So Tashega, he says, we'll pay to play. So there we go. Maybe a little bit of under the table business is going on over there to get him on that squad as the next pick is coming in. Blizzard, one of those teams we just mentioned that is looking for a lower MR player, and they're going to go ahead and select Tempo with their pick. So going all the way down to the bottom, they're one of those teams that needed a player like that. And it looks like Nebula is going to be the other one to fill their roster up here. They're going to be the other of the two. And it looks like Vanguard may be a little bit unluckier.
Nebula won't be able to, though, as their cap is only 1730, and the lowest MMR player now is 1731. So maybe a big brain play by Dan to ensure that another team doesn't have a full squad.
Sounds like a Dan plan moment there. As Nebula cannot physically draft anyone. They don't have enough MMR room remaining, but that's that's the risk that you play here. That's the risk that you play when you draft a 2000 MMR player and you have another high in 1930. You're playing the game that, hey, I am going to get these lower MMR players, I am gonna get like a 17-20. And I mean, at the beginning, there were a lot of them, but they quickly got snagged up. And when you risk like that, sometimes it's a little too risky.
I mean, I'm just gonna say this: two of the best ones are on the same team, Isaac and Cotney. I'm going to go back with Flypen about this. I do feel like those three are going to be very dominant. I don't know how Heck will do if the ego part of it. If he'll think he's a higher MMR, he should be starter no matter what. Don't know if that'll get in. Well, don't know if that'll be much of an issue. Hopefully not, because we hate to see that literally anywhere. Period. Doesn't matter if it's Titan or provisional. We hate to see it. But yeah, they look like a really solid roster compared to all of the rest of the rosters that are filling up. It looks like all of them are just looking for subs besides Nebula.
It looks like Nebula can't select Vanguard. They have 1731, so yeah, they can only select 2 money there. So they look like the lucky recipients of 2 money potentially, as long as 2 money doesn't get sniped. But yeah, Spartans looking for 1794 or lower. Gravity looking 1793 and lower. Venganza 1763 and lower. The Reaper is the only one with some real space here with 1853 left. So we're getting down to it, as we've only got 3 more picks in this round and then 2 more picks in the fourth. So we're down to the final 5 here, as Venganza and Mr. Lush are considering all their options. They do have quite a bit of options for 1763 and lower. They got 7 people to choose from, so definitely options are there.
Before we get too far away, I'd like to give Tashega his flowers. He is a Season 7 champion with Hydra in the Rival League, with Mayo at least, and Vulcan. No, Vulcan was on Knights, but Mayo and Tashega together won that Rival League in Season 7. Then Tashega went to Blizzard, and I'm pretty sure had a top 4 performance. And another guy that I met at Worlds, Tashega, is jacked. He's a beautiful man, and he's a grinder. So look out for him in this Titan League, because he's going to throw around some beef for sure.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And well, this pick has just come in, and there might be some games being played. We got some gamesmanship, as 2 money is stolen off the board. So now Vanguard can no longer get that for us. So maybe some gamesmanship, looking for some trade bait here in 2 money. But also the thing is, 2 money, although being a low MMR at 1731, he's actually a really good player. Was on Thunderbirds last season and was one of those people that was a contender for MVP last season, if I recall correctly. So 2 money, he puts up the stats. So honestly, that might have just not even been I'm going to steal your pick and hold them hostage so you don't get a fourth. That may have been like, hey, I actually really like this guy as, potentially even starter down there, because it's him and Botsy around the same MMR.
I'd like to take the chaos side of that. And he said, you know what? Screw that. I'm sniping your pick. Good luck. GG, go next, because these Titan players probably won't show up for you. So massive chaos. I respect it. And, just got to kick someone in the knee when a bear is chasing you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go. So, yeah, we'll have to see here what's gonna happen. We are down to the final couple picks. It looks like Gravity gonna go ahead and select Gabe with their pick. So 2 money going to Venganza, Gravity selecting Gabe with their pick, and that brings us down to it here, as we're getting down to the end of things. We've only got 2 more picks left in the Titan League draft. 2 more picks left for season number 9 here, as we are heading to the Spartans, I believe. Let me just double check that to make sure. I think the Godfathers, they are full. So we are heading to the final round here, as the Spartans will be making their selection, and they are going to select another T-Man for their org here. So T-Man on the Knights and T-Man on the Spartans here. They're going to select them. So surely that won't be confusing, having both the T-Mans in the same org. Not at all here.
Never.
I could definitely tell them apart before they were in the same org. So, but, well, there we go. He is heading over T-Man is heading over to the Spartans, and that just leaves one final pick to be made, which is the Reapers, the last pick of the draft. And they are ready and prepared. They are going to go ahead and select Burr with their pick. And that'll conclude the draft there, as Burr is the final selection. So yeah, we'll talk briefly about this, but again, as always, just gotta remind everyone, if you did not get selected, don't fear too much here, as there are a lot of changes that'll be made, especially in Titan, with a lot of these people looking for players on their roster. There will be a lot of shakeups, and Titan League players, some of them do go inactive at times. So I'm sure a lot of these teams will be looking for players. So make sure they're still active in the Discord. That's the best way. Be active in Discord, respond to your DMs, check out the streams and all that. Be active in six mans if you wanna, as a Titan player. Destroy some provisionals, take them down. Make sure Fly Penguin doesn't queue ever again. Just kidding. But yeah, you can be active. That's the best way to get onto a team, for sure. But yeah, why don't we take a look around here? We'll look at these rosters. We'll talk about who we think has the best roster now that things have the dust has kind of settled in Titan League, and then we'll wrap things up for the night. So why don't we go around the room? Rosie, you want to start first again, or should I?
As well.
Might as well. All right. Let's
You
hear
know
it. Let's
what?
hear what we got.
I feel like I can get this one over with quick. The top four, the top per division: Atlantic, Krakens; Central, Pinnacle; Pacific, Gravity; Mountain, Godfathers. There we go. Right there.
Alrighty. That's some pretty solid selections. Pretty solid selections there. Silver, I'm gonna throw it to you next here on this one. What are you looking at these teams? So who are the scary teams that you're looking at here on the board?
I'm looking at some of these MMR gaps and trying to think of synergies as well, from the small amount of Titan information that I know. Um, I would like to have faith in my man Fly Penguin. I'm
Watch what you say
assuming
next. Watch what you say next.
I'm assuming he's following a plan, and it may not be his plan, but you can bet he's going to stick to it. So hopefully they'll do well. I would hate for that to go poorly wrong. It's weird they have a 1900, and then their other three players are really close. So I feel
Mhm.
like I don't know if they're going to try and run those 1700s as a three-man squad, or try to incorporate Heck. It who knows at this point. Another team similar to that, down in Central, would be Phoenix. They've got that 2000 MMR in reveal, and then their other three players are all 1700s. And so with teams like that, you wonder if that's going to do more harm than good, or if they're going to really lean on that high ranking player to kind of carry a little bit and let those others support them. You have a couple teams that unfortunately only have three members, so you're looking at hopefully they can actually make it to their games. It's always kind of a drag when we get forfeits.
Mhm.
Um, Makes it easier on the stats, but definitely doesn't bring the content.
Yeah.
Pacific, um, I don't think I have any chips on the table really in here. There's a lot of players that I don't know, obviously, and a lot of these teams are pretty similar with their MMR breakdowns. Um, all of them cap room is less than 35, with diversion just 4. They grab the lowest, the highest player that they could possibly choose.
Yep.
Um, and then you got your mountain division. Another Venganza sitting with that 2000 and a 1930. You wonder how that team is going to play out with those two kind of lower ranked players. Maybe one of them being a third and one of them being a sub, and kind of going back and forth maybe. And then my own org in Vanguard with 3 players. It hurts my soul, but I'm sure Glaze will figure something out. He's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll have to see. And then last but not least, let's bring it to Fly Penguin here. Penguin, what are you thinking here on the board? Who are you looking at? Who are the scary teams in Titan League that are going to be running the table a little bit?
I'm gonna go in reverse order like I did my draft. I'm gonna start with the Mountain Division. I definitely like Grandmasters with Nuggy and Deluxe. Deluxe can definitely hang with the big boys, even though he's only 1866. I'm intrigued to see how Drax's or Case will fit in with that, but I'm sure that they'll make it work. So for the Mountain Division, I'm gonna go with Grandmasters. For the Pacific, Foam said that he had a plan for Titan. So, and I do have some bias. The War Room was my first org, so I like the Spartans, but I'm gonna have to go with Dragons because Vulcan and Mayo, you can never go wrong. Vulcan was my AGM when I was in the War Room, and he was always really cool to deal with. So I'll go with the Dragons. In the Central Division, um, you got Pinnacle with Mitch and Brandon. They know each other super well, so that's always going to be dangerous. But whenever you get a champion coming back, Blizzard's done it. Let's see if Phoenix can do it because they got Reveal, they got Miles, so they're gonna try that get that back to back, and they're gonna be my favorites in the Central. But to get to the Atlantic, I'm gonna save myself 75k channel points and give myself caster bias and say that the Kraken are gonna go 18-0. No, I'm joking, guys. But I do like the Kraken's chance. Not that they're gonna blow everyone out of the water, but since they are familiar with each other, they it gives you a shot. But I'm gonna pick Blizzard because you have Tox and you have Dank and Moifin. What more can you say about those guys? Tox, he's gone back to back to back, and Dank, um he's just incredible. He's gone so far in this Titan League. So, and even Crispy said in the chat, whatever team Dank is on is gonna win. So, but yeah, I like Blizzard in that scenario. So we'll see how the Titan League plays out.
I will definitely have to see. There's a lot of great teams, some teams that may surprise here. So a lot to be seen for this one. But yeah, we'll see. Season 9 officially, it's officially underway now, I'd say, with all the rosters now getting filled up here. We got pretty much everyone on teams here. Pretty much all the teams are filled up. So obviously things will change as we get a little bit closer to the start of the season. But we appreciate everyone hanging out. We appreciate all the support, a lot of support on the streams these past 2 days. So thank you guys so much. And huge shout out to all the streamers that helped us out. Shout out to Zach or Hoshi yesterday. Huge shout out to Cream streaming this draft, getting everything all set up. Much appreciated. So make sure if you guys see them, thank those people. Also, make sure that you guys thank all of our casters. We got a lot of people that kind of stepped up last minute to make sure that they were able to cast. I know yesterday we had some people. Flip, Mallow, and Aiden really helped out yesterday. Flip again today. That was huge. Irosa stepping up big in this one. Cream also helping out to cast, and then obviously Penguin and Silver J, big help today on done this one. So huge shout out to all those guys. Make sure you guys give them some love, and also some unsung heroes behind the scenes. The mod team. Huge shout out to Lush. I know Lush was helping out Mayo. Midnight, I know, was behind there. Doodle was also putting in some work. Sorry if I missed any of their mods helping out, but I know those were a couple of the main ones there. Shout out to Ruth as well, and also Music, Magic, all the mods helping out. We appreciate you guys. You guys don't see the behind the scenes work they're doing with the sheets and all the PRFs and all the interest forms, but they put a lot of work in the off season. All the mods did. So they did a really good job getting things set up for the season. So huge shout out to them to get this thing ready. And folks, now we're moving into it. Now we're moving into season 9. It's officially underway. I know everyone's excited, excited to get things going. I'm excited as well. So schedule release will be coming soon in the next coming days, so stick around for that. I know people are excited to see who they're playing, start getting some plans ready for their matches, so stay tuned for that. Schedule release will be coming soon. We also got a couple other announcements that'll be coming, so make sure you stick around. Can't say too much about them at the moment, but they will be coming soon in the next week or so, I would guess. So make sure you stick around for that. And yeah, opening day, we'll be back for that one. Opening day is the 22nd of May. So we got this next week, and then the Monday after that week, we'll be heading for opening day. So it'll be a lot of fun. So make sure you guys are ready for that. Make sure you guys follow the channel. We'll be streaming matches every Monday, every Wednesday. It should be a lot of fun. So yeah, I think with my long rambling rant finished, I think that's going to call it for the stream. Appreciate everyone hanging out, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
That guy to be the one to sweep you off your feet. You're the reason I quit smoking, the reason I get high. Everybody's thinking I should say goodbye, but I don't. You want me to forget you, but I won't. And now you left me sitting, skipping stones. I should probably hate you, but I don't, 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 but I don't. You want me to forget you, but I won't. Now you left me saying probably don't. I should probably hate you, but I don't, but I don't. You want me to forget you, but I won't. Now you left me sitting, skipping stones. I should probably hate you, but I don't, don't.